Well, we heard 3. Anyway, what age did you say he was?
90.
Happy birthday to you, Michael Caine. That's good to hear he's alive.
Don't forget the sir. He's a sir, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
He's called Michael.
Okay, thanks very much, Lee. See you tomorrow morning, bright and early. It's the 9 till noon show. Let's get a news update now, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Well, Joe Biden says he intends to visit Ireland early next month. He was officially invited to Northern Ireland by Rishi Sunak last night at a event in San Diego. Taoiseach Varadkar is expected to renew an invitation to the Republic when he attends a St. Patrick's Day reception at the White House later this week. Dates haven't yet been revealed. It's understood the visit will come shortly after the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. That comes on April 12th. Well, political correspondent Sean Defoe says Joe Biden is likely to schedule a number of stops on his visit here.
US President Joe Biden confirming he is going to come to Ireland and Northern Ireland next month to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, something that's going to act as a bit of a boost for the trip of Leo Varadkar to Washington, D.C. this week ahead of the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. He's due to meet President Joe Biden at the White House on Friday and also other congressional representatives. President Biden had been invited several times by the Irish government to visit and to go back to his roots in Mayo, if you like. It's expected he will do that as one of a number of stops when he visits next month.
An average of 16 learner drivers a day get penalty points for not being accompanied by a qualified motorist. Last year's total was 5,925. That was up 185 from the previous year. Brian Farrell of the Road Safety Authority says learners take a big risk if they drive unaccompanied.
They risk getting 2 points and an €80 fine. They also risk having the car seized, and if they are operating that vehicle, or if they're driving that vehicle without permission, the owner of that car faces prosecution. So there are serious consequences for driving unaccompanied.
And nothing is off the table regarding industrial action, according to the Association of Garda Sergeants and Inspectors. Over 250 of its members protested in Dublin yesterday over the Garda Commissioner's refusal to let them return to their more regular pre-pandemic hours as promised. The AGSI also claims Drew Harris is refusing to engage with the proper protocol for internal disputes and wants to go straight to the Workplace Relations Commission instead. Antoinette Cunningham, the AGSI's General Secretary, has defended their decision to demonstrate.
It's completely necessary because we've attempted at least 3 to 4 times to speak with the Garda Commissioner on behalf of our membership. He continues to reject that there's a problem. He continues to reject there's an issue with morale, and he has not in any way addressed the health and safety concerns that we have for our members.
Well, Gardaí in Donegal warning of some icy roads and slippery footpaths this morning as the Arctic blast continues to make its presence felt. Met Éireann tell us it'll be icy in parts this morning, cold and rather breezy with some sunny spells and showers as the day goes on. The showers will be most frequent this morning and early afternoon. Many of the showers wintry, a chance of hail and thunder, some sleet and snow across Donegal this morning already. Highest temperatures today just 4 to 7 degrees Celsius with an added wind chill because of a moderate to fresh and gusty northwesterly wind. And that's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
What does Ireland sound like? Is it the mournful cry of the uilleann pipes floating over a lonely mountain pass? Or waves lapping on a wild western shore? Is it the gentle sound of rain on a soft spring day? Or welcoming voices in a cozy local pub?
Right, folks, do you not have homes to go to?
Over.
No, this is what Ireland sounds like. KFC's original recipe, chicken fillet roll. This St. Patrick's Day, it's got to be KFC.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Tuesday the 14th of March. How are you keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and it's great to have you along for another edition of the 9 till noon show and listening to Donald referencing the weather there. And who would be a weather forecaster for Donegal? Sitting looking out the window here at the mountain top. Seems like a beautiful morning. Driving up this morning, barring a small gap, snow everywhere. Over Drumkeen, it is the same. It just goes to show these microclimates or whatever you might call it. But anyway, be prepared if you're out and about. You might hit some bad weather if you're driving this morning. Keep us informed as well too, by the way. The lines are open for all of your calls. 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. That's for your WhatsApps and texts. Now, if you want to call, Caroline and Anya are taking your calls this morning. That's 07491 25,000. We welcome your emails to comments@highlandradio.com. And why not join us by watching the show on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, across our Facebook pages and on our website, and engage with us there. Okay, let's start with a look at this morning's newspapers, and not talking about the locals here, but the nationals. It was thin pickings this morning. I'm not going to lie to you, so this might be a brief little interlude for you. But some good news, I think, out of the Donegal Democrat this morning. Aldi Ireland has announced that it paid $4.5 million in wages and salaries last year while welcoming 1 million customer visits to its Donegal stores. That's really significant. One employer, $4.5 million in wages and salaries, and 2 million customers through the doors of its Donegal stores. Obviously not separate people making return journeys. In 2022, Aldi sourced 12 million of locally produced food and drink from Donegal-based suppliers. Aldi partners with 7 Donegal producers, including long-term relationships with Donegal Rapeseed Company and P. Mulryan and Sons. Okay, so I thought I'd kick off with a bit of good news there. On to the Derry Journal now, and it has been proposed that a development plan to be put in place for council lands at Barrackhill and Carndonagh in a move that could be vitally important for the town. Innishowen-based Donegal County Councillor Martin McDermott has proposed that Donegal County Council designate areas of the substantial area of land, around 30 acres, for housing, business and recreation, etc., so that development can take place. He said it's all council-owned land, but there's been no plan done for its development. On to the nationals now, and one of the worst-kept secrets of late has been Joe Biden visiting Ireland. And the White House is to announce a 5-day visit to Ireland next month by US President Joe Biden. He'll spend time in Belfast and Dublin, but the majority of his time will be spent in Mayo, where his ancestral roots lie. Confirmation will come on St. Patrick's Day, when Taoiseach Leo Varadkar visits Washington for the traditional Oval Office meeting, and nothing will come away in the way of that meeting. Micheál Martin, his predecessor, of course, barriers were put up in front of him every time he wanted to do that whole St. Patrick's Day routine between COVID and one thing and another, and him having COVID. Well, Mr. Biden will fly into Belfast around April 10th to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, before then travelling to Dublin. It's thought he'll make at least one major public address in the manner of predecessors Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. But there will be up to 3 days spent in Mayo, according to US sources who've said an announcement is imminent. So he's not coming to coincide with the anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. He will travel a little thereafter. Are you delighted? Are you welcoming it? Would you travel to go and see him and stand waving a flag? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Is it as big a deal as it might have been in the past, I wonder? It's a question, not a statement. The Irish Times this morning: the government is giving renewed consideration to the introduction of pre-budget tax breaks for the rental sector, just a week after deciding against them. Now, these breaks should have been, and we mentioned this in our Friday panel, if you were going to make such a big decision as ending the eviction ban, logically, if you want to try and sort of manage the narrative, as it's often referred to now, you'd have made these announcements at the same time to take the edge off it, would you not? But anyway, the forthcoming announcement, if it's made, comes amid ongoing criticism over its decision to end the eviction ban, with some in government now of the view that tax breaks for landlords and tenants should be brought in early to reverse the political momentum and keep renters in their homes, while cautioning that the most likely outcome was still to wait for the budget. Senior sources acknowledged earlier interventions were now being given fresh consideration. Minister for Finance Michael McGrath and Minister for Public Expenditure Pascal Donoghue held the line at a key cabinet meeting last week when faced with arguments from some colleagues that more could have been done on the tax side, and are likely to resist any moves to revisit the decision. Doubling down, but it might be a direction of traffic they find difficult to resist. More than 1,200 people under the age of 65 are living in nursing homes and can't leave, with advocacy groups saying they're being held in custody due to the housing crisis. This is the Irish Daily Mail. Many young people were placed in nursing homes following sudden ill health and believed their placement would be temporary. Sage Advocacy chief, Mervyn Taylor, said not enough effort is being made to resolve the situation. It seems, he says, to be the default form of thinking that a nursing home is the best place for people because other options are not being explored. What about people who don't want to be in a nursing home, he asks. Anyone listening affected by this story that could give us an insight into it? Are you or a loved one? Do you feel you're trapped or held in custody, it's described in the paper, in a nursing home? Effectively, these people, he goes on to say, by the way, are detained. For some, it's care, but for others, it's custody. These figures come almost 2 years after damning findings by the Ombudsman. And I recall us covering that story at that time too. Right, let's see. President Michael D. Higgins has stirred something amongst the public out there because children and parents pleaded with Education Minister Norma Foley to step in and introduce a homework ban after it was suggested by the President, Michael D. Higgins. In letters to the Minister, children wrote about how they were being forced to give up hobbies because they were giving so much work to do after school. In one note, a pupil wrote about how 7 hours of school each day was plenty of education and that more work on top of that was unnecessary. So this is a young person, by the way. And as I say, I've said before in this show, we should probably listen to young people more, at least consult with them. This person wrote to the Education Minister saying, this is from a pupil, 7 hours of school each day was plenty of education and that more work on top was unnecessary. The child said, I do not ask for homework to be completely banned, but for it to be reduced to a certain limit. Otherwise, if there is a constant build-up of homework daily, it can cause stress and even a lack of exercise, which will affect a person's well-being. Okay, so as I say, hopefully they're at least considered, if not listened to. Good, potentially good news in advance for those who suffer or have Tourette's syndrome. A smartwatch-like device tested by the singer Lewis Capaldi has been found to reduce tics in people with Tourette's syndrome. And we were down at his concert recently, and because he was tired, because it was a long show, his tics worsened as the show went on. I say worsen, I didn't find it in any way. It's just part of who he is. But he's at great pains to point out to his fans who can be concerned at times, particularly younger ones that might not understand Tourette's syndrome, that it doesn't bother him as such, that it's just part of him. But that being said, he did enter into this trial. It's like a wristwatch people put on. He's only 26. He took part in a scientific trial after revealing in September that he has the disorder. The device stimulates the median nerve, which controls motor functions in the forearm, wrist and hand. Participants used the Neo Pulse, which is worn on the wrist, for 15 minutes at a similar time each day for a month and gave feedback. The trial of 121 people found that on average they experienced a 25% reduction in the frequency of tics. Lewis, whose mega hits include Someone Who You Loved and Forget Me, was said to have been impressed by the trial run by the University of Nottingham. So anytime there seems to be a significant medical advance, it seems... for me anyway, sorry, it doesn't seem, it is good news. Now, what do you think of the Irish perception of us internationally? Is it offensive? Do you find it offensive that we are still portrayed as fighting drunks? Like, is it something that we should harden up and just accept that these are just jokes and what have you? Or is it something we should say, you know, enough is enough, it's 2023, there's much more to us than being drunk and fighting. Well, in the Irish Daily Star today, the Banshee of Inisherin left empty-handed, but the Irish was still the talk of the Oscars after picking up 2 gongs and becoming the butt of host Jimmy Kimmel's one-liners. Colin Farrell even called out Kimmel in US show Saturday Night Live skit about him and his co-star Brendan Gleeson in an awkward encounter with the host. The actor was full of smiles as he arrived. But anyway, in his monologue, this is Kimmel's monologue, including lines like, 5 Irish actors are nominated tonight, which means the chances of a fight just went way up. And it was some year for diversity and inclusion. We have nominees from every corner of Dublin. Sorry, let me reread that again. One of his lines was, it was some year for diversity and inclusion. We have nominees from every corner of Dublin. I'm not sure that one's quite offensive. This is the skit on Saturday Night Live, by the way, that was broadcast. It's probably the most popular comedy show, is it, in America? This is the comedians' take on the Irish.
But hold that thought, up because I'm told we have the stars of the Banshees of Inisharan, Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. How do you guys like your chances tonight?
That's a word saying, take words of troops for where in you be.
Hey, me Glen Pew Atari Swiddle Tooney trees in it.
Yeah. But like they say, odd times to go out, giving like it's been for long on. Take ye team, me whole team at CAA.
Wow, and they haven't even started drinking yet.
All right, so that's the Saturday Night Live take on the Irish and our reputation. Do you think that's funny? Or do you think it's time maybe they tried to come up with something else? Now, that being said, do we perpetrate this ourselves? Because you know what's going to happen, don't you? We are welcoming the President of the United States, Joe Biden, to Ireland, of course. And what's the first thing that's going to happen? Where's he going to be brought first, probably? Well, not the first thing, but you get me. It's going to be to the Guinness Storehouse, because that's what we do. Or we bring them into a pub and get them to pull a pint. So maybe we are our own worst enemies in it. Maybe it's not a bad thing. But what do you think? Does it annoy you when we are portrayed as we are? 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. It is the 9 till noon show, and it's brought to you this week in association with our friends at St Mary's GEA Convoy. Now, they are running their development draw at the moment, and they've got really ambitious plans which are already underway to rejig and rejuvenate and modernise their beautiful campus there in Convoy. And they are running this fundraiser in which they are giving away €50,000 on St Patrick's Day. You can buy your tickets now. They're not inexpensive. It's a considered purchase. It's €50, but look at the rewards. 50,000. We are giving you the chance to win 2 tickets today on the show. We've another quiz running for you in that regard. It is there, isn't it? Where is it? It is. Okay, now all you have to do is listen to this. It's free to enter. Just WhatsApp or text the regular numbers. You'll hear how. We'll be back after the information as it relates to how you can win tickets to the St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, and a quick break.
On this week's show, with thanks to our sponsor, St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, we're giving you the chance to win 2 tickets to their 50k for €50 draw. To be in with a chance of winning these tickets, all you have to do is answer the following question. In the famous All-Ireland song from 2012, Jimmy's winning what? Is it A, matches, or B, footballs? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GEA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagorry Strabane, 2-course express menu, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Only $18.95. 7-day weekly a la carte menu, euro for pound. Now taking bookings for Mother's Day and Sunday Carvery, 2 courses only $15.95. Check out our party packages and great deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagorry Strabane.
Don your Irish dancing shoes and head for Foyleside Shopping Centre this St Patrick's Day. We'll be painting the town green with great fun for all the family. Music, dancing, face painting, balloon modelling and even green candy floss. Catch the famous parade through the city before more entertainment awaits this St Patrick's Day at Foyleside Shopping Centre.
Are you looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan? New kitchen, bathroom or bedroom? For whatever you're planning, B&S Credit Union's Renovate Loan is ready to go. Loans from €5,000 to €70,000. Visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, the tourism industry, both in the south and in the north, are expressing concern after Britain announced the rollout of a new electronic travel authorisation, ETA. It's a scheme for foreign visitors. People who live in Ireland legally will be exempt from the requirement, we're told, but there is concern about the impact the measure will have on cross-border tourism. So you can imagine a situation where we have a German tourist, I presume this could be the case, or an American tourist who's in Lifford, sorry to use the obvious examples, and they decide they want to nip into Strabane. Now, there's not going to be anyone checking on the border that they have this ETA, but let's just say there was a bumper-to-bumper, something happened like that there. Police arrive, and they could be found to be in Britain, in Northern Ireland, the UK as it's described, illegally. I don't know what the situation might be if someone wishes to travel from a bus to Dublin to Letterkenny and travel through the north. They're already boarding buses to check in terms of illegal movement. Will they be checking this? Now, anyway, we'll tease it out with our next guest. It's just this could create a perception that makes it complicated or worrisome to travel into Northern Ireland because people already have maybe preconceived notions that it's dangerous or something, and now you have this notion too that you'd land in Dublin and you'd need a special pass to get into the 6 counties. I think it's going to be disruptive. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what Dr. Joan Stewart, CEO of the Northern Ireland Tourism Alliance, thinks. Because as I say, Joanne, well, we'll get to what's proposed in your view, and then we'll tease out the potential implications. Thanks so much for joining us, Joanne. How concerned is your alliance?
Morning, Greg. Yes, we are extremely concerned. Overseas tourism is really important for us, and it represents 25% of our total tourism revenue. Now, why this is a particular issue is, as you know, as part of the Good Friday Agreement, tourism and overseas tourism for Northern Ireland was changed to be marketed as part of the Island of Ireland destination. So we are different from the rest of the UK, and basically as a result of that, over 70% of our overseas tourists come via the Republic of Ireland and travel across the land border into Northern Ireland. And they're coming for a trip to the island of Ireland, so they visit north and south, and are expecting seamless travel across the island because that's how we've been developed. So as you set out in the introduction, what we're now saying is that if you want to come into Northern Ireland over the land border, you are moving into the UK and will need this electronic travel authorization, or ETA. And if you don't have that, you are illegally in Northern Ireland, and if you're stopped for whatever reason, then you could be fined. You could end up in prison. You know, that's the extremity.
And Joanne, you know, I saw a lot of people commenting on this and saying, but sure, no one cares. It's not going to be for us. But if you're doing your research and you're traveling from a foreign country, right, and this is flagged, It is a thing. You know, people don't want to willingly or knowingly break the law. If I was lucky enough to go to Portugal in a particular area I read in advance that I needed a cert to get into, I'm not just going to go, sure, what odds? Because I would be fearful that I could be someone could pull me up on it. I think that's the majority. Now, there's some people on social media that are far braver than I, but I just have a feeling that this will worry some people. Will they get it in advance? It's going to have some sort of an effect because we don't really know how it might be implemented or where people would be told they might require this, for example, or how we would message it. Or
yes, and that's part of the real challenge. So that, you know, they keep. The Home Office would say this is very much similar to an ESTA if you're going to the States. Now, the difference is that when you're going to the States, when you book your ticket, you are told by the airline you need an ESTA. You can't actually book your ticket until you have an ESTA number. So it's made very clear to you that you need that. And it will be checked when you arrive in the States. So for the 70% of tourists who come via the Republic of Ireland, they're not going to be told they need an ETA to go into the UK because they're going to Ireland, and therefore, and maybe as part of their trip, they are going to go to Northern Ireland. But if they're not even aware that it's a different jurisdiction, I mean, we're promoted as the island of Ireland, so there's an expectation they will be able to travel around. So I think the fear is that, how do you get that message so they really understand? And also, people, when they come to Ireland, make spontaneous trips to Northern Ireland. They may decide, I'm here, I'll go up for 2 days. Now, what we're being told in the rules because we don't know everything, but what we know at the moment is it can take up to 3 working days to process an application. So if on a Thursday you decide, oh, I'm going to go up for a weekend, you're not going to bother. If you think it's going to take you 3 days, plus every single person in your group. So if you're a family of 5, you have to do 5 applications, you have to pay 5 fees, and you have to wait for 5 approvals to actually come in.
And I've bumped into tourists in the pub in Donegal in the summer, and you chat to them, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know, well, we think we might head up to Belfast. They think they might, do you know? Now, obviously, the way news is it says the plans, 70% of visitors arrive via Dublin. This puts 25% of all tourist spend, an estimated €250 million in Northern Ireland, at risk. Of course, that's the headline worst. It's not going to be that. But if it's 5 million or 7 million or 18 million or 25 million, even if an awful lot of what you would see as being necessary were introduced, it is still going to put some people off. Maybe the nervous traveller. Well, what's wrong with the 6 counties? Why would I? So really, we've got a bit of time here. It's getting shot of this altogether is what we really need to do, isn't it?
Yes, and we've been working on this for the last 10 months because it was part of a much bigger bill, the National Decent Borders Bill. I'm very intensely engaging over the last sort of 6 months with the Home Office to make the case for this. We're very disappointed that we didn't get it. Obviously, we welcome the fact that legal residents who aren't British and Irish in the Republic of Ireland obviously are going to be able to travel across the UK, and that's great because that impacts on our tourism as well.
What is the definition of that, Joanne? Do you know? Now, I know that's probably, it's outside the tourism industry, but what is the definition of a legal resident?
So you have got permission to live legally in
simple
in
as
Ireland.
that. Okay, understood.
Yes, and what they'll be looking at is now, again, because I think the confusion is that the Home Office have been very categoric that there are not going to be any immigration checks on the land border. So it is very much, if somebody is stopped for some reason, there's real concern about racial profiling. So if it's intelligence-led immigration checks, what does that mean? And also, if you say if you have an accident, your insurance is invalidated. Never mind the whole legal implications.
But the spontaneity of it too. I mean, we don't have what is the tourism income from spontaneity, from spontaneous visitors as well?
Yeah, the number of day trips, that we would have is something actually we don't measure. However, sort of based on sort of best estimations, it's up to about £500 million worth to us in revenue terms. So if you're removing that, it's just, and obviously tourism supports so many other sectors. So, obviously your restaurants and your pubs, but your retail, transport, and it's regional. So it provides jobs across all different communities across the island of Ireland. I think there's real concern about reputational damage. And I know the Irish government are concerned about the impact on the island of Ireland tourism. Belfast has some really great product that attracts people, and if suddenly you're putting a barrier into the ease of being able to access that, maybe people will think differently about Ireland and go somewhere else. So
yeah, Joe Biden's coming later this year. That if this were in place by then, we could have a situation whereby he's having to get he might get a pass, but you know what I'm saying. He would have to get an electronic travel authorization, and him and all his staff to pass from Belfast to Dublin to Mayo and back to Belfast. You get on, if tourists were saying, should we get on that ferry at Greencastle and head over to Derry? Well, do you have your ETA? Now, we know no one's enforcing it, don't get me wrong, but it's still there. It's in the back of your head. So you say foreign registered vehicle. If you appear to look different, it could affect cross-border workers. Okay, thanks, Joanne. Stay with us because Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin's with us as well, of course. He raised this issue last year with the Department of Foreign Affairs, so we've known about it for some time, but I just don't think I didn't expect it to emerge like it has. Deputy McLaughlin.
Well, first of all, Greg, there might be a bit of noise in the background. There's just work taking place in the house, so apologies to your listeners if there's any noise in the background. The Joanna's laid out the situation really, really well there. One of the things whenever Brexit was was unfolding was we all work together, cross-party, cross-political on the island to protect the island economy. And as Joanne says, many people who visit the north of Ireland travel through Dublin Airport. That's the route they use. You want seamless travel on the island. So I would have raised this late last year, and the concerns were being raised with me at that stage were cross-border workers. And as Joanne says, they seem to have listened to that issue of people who are residents in the Republic of Ireland, in the likes of Donegal, and who are working cross-border. But the issue of tourists is still not resolved. The Irish government, in the response it gave me, are seriously concerned about this, are engaging with the British government on a cross-party basis. Politicians in the north of Ireland have raised this. So on the island of Ireland, of all political parties, civic society has raised serious concerns to the British government. I'm also mindful, Greg, that, obviously you have the Windsor framework now. You have this new negotiation between the British government and the European Commission. I would imagine that, in the spirit of that framework and that agreement, they really need to listen to our concerns and make sure that anybody who's visiting, through Dublin Airport can seamlessly travel into the north of Ireland.
So
we really can't have
if
that.
someone from Germany currently, would they need an ETA to go to London?
Yes.
At the moment, do they? Yeah.
Oh, no, at the moment. Sorry. No, at the moment, they just need a passport and that gets them anywhere in the UK.
Yeah, but so post this being introduced, Joanne, if a visitor from France wants to jump on the Channel Tunnel to go into London, would they require this document? Yes. Okay, so this is Britain and Northern Ireland wide.
This is a UK. This is
understood,
the UK
right? Okay,
taking back control of their borders, as they say. Now, the difference is, Greg, is that in that case they are going into what you call a direct port of entry.
Yes,
so they are arriving directly into the UK. They're going through immigration control. They will have been told before they travelled that they needed an ETA, and in fact may not have been able to travel if they didn't have one.
Yep.
This is different, and what we're saying is that people arrive in the Republic of Ireland and are driving or getting a train or getting a coach, none of whom have any obligation to check or to make sure that they have an ETA. And we're not arguing against people coming direct into Belfast. If somebody's flying direct from France to Belfast, we are not arguing that point because they will have been told they need an ETA. Yeah. They're arriving in an airport where there's immigration checks. So we understand that policy side and we get that, but this is an invisible virtual border that people don't even know they're crossing, and it's that legal jeopardy because people may not know about it, may not when you talk to some of the coach operators, people don't realize they're in a different country, or they're in a different jurisdiction.
And also too, you see, we talk about sort of casual day trippers and all that kind of stuff, all right? But let's just say a group of tourists are in Sligo and they contact, or Donegal Town or whatever, and they contact a local bus company and say, look, we want to go into Derry, can you drive us in? I mean, I presume the bus operator wouldn't want to be complicit in illegally moving these people. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of organised trips, I presume that bus driver or operator will say, well, do you have your ETAs? And they go, well, what's our... Go ahead, Joanne.
Yes. And that's part of the problem, because the Home Office would say there's no legal obligation on the tour operator to do that.
Right.
They don't need to check or anything. But because we are professionals and we don't want to put anybody
I'd be reluctant if I was. Yeah.
We would be saying, have you got an ETA? And if half of that group say, actually, no, I don't, and it could take 3 working days to get that ETA, well, the spontaneity of that, trip and the ability for them to do it has gone.
But Padraig, how do we then go about resolving this? Because I presume there are people in Northern Ireland who don't think this is a good idea, but at the same time would like Northern Ireland to be treated the same as the rest of the UK. You know what I mean? So they might have some sort of soft resistance to this being dropped. I mean, do you believe this can be resolved, Padraig? And if so, how can it be and ensure that Northern Ireland is treated the same as Scotland, Wales and England?
Yeah, no, I do think it can be resolved with the same will and resolve that was shown with the Windsor framework. And right now the spirit is that you have a British government who's working with the European Commission to try and resolve issues. There is no political support for this approach that I'm aware of on the island of Ireland. And it's a particular issue, obviously, Greg, in Donegal, because we market Donegal, Derry, Tyrone together as one region to visit. So it's a particular issue for us to be concerned about. And I mean, if there's a will to resolve it, so my responsibility now is to re-engage with the Irish government, who in turn will engage with the British government. And again, I think with the desire to get the Stormont institutions up and running again, the desire to, I suppose, encourage unionism to come back into Stormont, you would imagine in that environment we should be able to resolve this issue. And I think that with people like Joanne standing up and point out the serious practical problems, I'm hopeful that we can resolve it in this current political environment.
Joanne, just go ahead, please. Yes.
So I'm going to say we have obviously been engaging an awful lot with the Irish government, and they have been very supportive of our case, and even and are continuing to do so, even though we've resolved the issue of the legal residence. We have complete cross-party support from the Northern Ireland political parties, which we don't always have. So this is one point where the DUP and the unionist parties support this and really understand the importance, because this is about our economy. This is about the reputation of Northern Ireland as a place.
Yes. And
so we do have all of that support. I just think we still have to really make the UK government understand the day-to-day impact on this, and how actually it's only 1% of the total visitors that come to the UK. So we're not undermining any policy issue for them. And the fact that they're not going to check, then you have to ask, well, then why do you need to get one and cause all this problem when you're not going to check?
Timelines, Joanne, this is not something for this summer, okay? Yep. So just for people listening, and listen, I think with the types of conversations like these happening, broadly speaking, I think this is something that can be averted. But we're talking elements of this year, some towards the end of next year. Is that the...
Yes, so they are, the first pilot is with Qatar, and that is starting the end of this year. Then they're rolling it out to the rest of the Gulf states, and we're expecting the USA, Europe, those bigger markets towards the end of 2024. We are really making a plea that it is the end of next year and not May before your high season. But obviously there's still an opportunity to get this changed. We are working with all of the political parties in the UK and the Irish government to see if we can get this amended. So the game is not finished yet.
Exactly.
And we are continuing to make the case, and I really appreciate the support of Padraig and the Irish government.
Yeah, well done, Dr. Joanne Stewart, CEO of the Northern Ireland Tourism Alliance, in doing your bit to speak about this in advance, be proactive. We really appreciate it. Thanks very much indeed. You mentioned Padraig, the possibility of getting a government back in situ in the north. It's not going to happen before Joe Biden's visit next month, I take it. There's no chance of that.
Doesn't look like it, Greg. Obviously unionism, political unionism, has a lot of soul searching to do. But one thing that Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, was right about, this is a unique opportunity now for the north of Ireland, having voted against Brexit, voted to stay in the European Union, and being forced into that scenario. There's a unique opportunity now with access to the British economy and the European single market. So that was true in what he said. And it's good for Donegal, it's good for Derry, it's good for Tyrone if we can stabilise. But the most important thing, Greg, is, and I've said this to you before, it is just a disaster not to have a proper government up and running in Stormont.
Do you believe that if as many of the DUP's demands are met as is possible, do you believe they can find it within themselves to play second fiddle to Sinn Féin, or will there always be something? Do you believe that if they can be satisfied as to their concerns, that it is That's what it's about. In other words, they can go into government with a Deputy First Minister.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Greg, the reality of First and Deputy First Minister is it's actually joint First Minister.
You know yourself, though. It's the perception.
I agree, Greg. There's definitely a view, a widespread view in nationalism that political unionism, do not want to serve under a Sinn Féin First Minister, even though it is a joint First Minister. And that's going to be tested now. I mean, the British government and the European Commission have had a real go here at trying to make the protocol, now the Windsor Framework, this whole issue of trade in the Irish Sea, as manageable as possible. There's no excuses left now, none left. It's time to get back to work. And, as I say again, it's like obviously Derry, I'm from Buncrana, it's 30 minutes from Derry City. I'm in Derry, I'm engaging with people in Tyrone all the time. And I just feel so sorry for them that they do not have a government to engage with, to hold to account. It's just, it's totally unacceptable and unsustainable, and it needs to be resolved.
All right, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. And they must be using cloth hammers in the house because we couldn't hear a thing. All right.
They're tearing up floorboards.
All right,
what have
okay.
you.
All right,
Sorry,
take
Greg,
care. No bother, we couldn't hear it. All right, take care. Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin there of the Sinn Féin Party, of course. And we also heard from Dr. Joanne Stewart, CEO of the Northern Ireland Tourism Alliance. Allowance, I was going to say, but it is Alliance, of course. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts on that issue, or anything else you want to talk about this morning.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor, 07495 325
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 16-page Cheltenham pullout. Our man Brian Flanagan gives you the inside scoop from the track. We have Davy Russell and Andy Mack's exclusive views, plus all the top tipsters ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €25 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go, whoa!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money. Woo!
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place Thursday, 6th of April on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Ooh.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Quality ingredients make quality paint colour. That's why to us at Colour Trend, green is never just green. It's sweet caper, made to withstand everyday scuffs and spills, or standing tall, which reflects the sun but never fades. It's the perfect green that stays perfect. Colour Trend, a world of quality in every colour.
Keep your car or van running smoothly with a service at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. Not only will it minimise the risk of a major repair expense, but it will be logged in your vehicle's service handbook and help its resale value. Hegarty's also offer everything from new and pre-owned car sales to parts and body repairs in their approved body shop. Book a service online this month and save €30 when you use the code FORD30. You're always in good hands at Hegarty's Ford, Carnamugga, Letterkenny. See Hegartys.com.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with a manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, cold and rather breezy with sunny spells and showers. The showers will be most frequent in the morning and afternoon, and many of these will be wintry with the chance of hail and thunder. Highest temperatures of just 4 to 7 degrees. Very pleased to welcome onto the show now Larry Donnelly, University of Galway Law lecturer and political columnist with the Journal. Good morning to you, Larry. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Great to be with you.
It's great to have you with us. Right, okay. It's been all but confirmed that President Joe Biden will visit Northern Ireland to mark the upcoming anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, which the US, of course, helped to broker 25 years ago. And he'll also visit the Republic, and he'll spend much of his time too in his ancestral, where his ancestors are from, that is in the Mayo area. How significant is this, Larry? Is it significant? It doesn't feel as significant as, you know, a Biden visit or a Bill Clinton visit. I don't know. Are we just becoming immune to this stuff, or maybe I'm just missing the buzz?
Well, maybe it's a good thing that we're becoming immune to it because it's so commonplace for American presidents to visit Ireland, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing and a reaffirmation of an extraordinary transatlantic partnership. I think in the case of Joe Biden, again, who is, you know, given his roots not just in Ballina but also in Louth, is by some measurements the most Irish president that we've had. And I think his commitment to Ireland, I think his commitment to the Good Friday Agreement, his commitment to a smooth, I suppose, passageway out of Brexit as best we can, I think are to be welcomed. And the fact that he's so interested in coming here, I think is something that is a really wonderful event. Now, what day he's going to be here, the details of the trip, it depends on which newspaper you read this morning. But all in all, it's great news.
The stronger the relationship is between the US and Ireland, the better for the Irish. There's no doubt about that, is there?
No, absolutely not. And I should also say it's a two-way street, Greg. There's an awful lot of Irish businesses who are employing thousands of people in the United States. So this is very much a two-way relationship. And also there are longer-term issues here. I think, you know, having a president who professes to be as Irish as Joe Biden does is a good thing in an era when some of the ties, at least the ties that were cemented by immigration from Ireland to the United States, are beginning to wane. So those of us who are committed to the relationship need to look at every angle we can to maintain what is the envy of the rest of the world, to be frank, and having a president visit here is great, as is the fact that this week so many Irish politicians will be strolling the corridors of power, not just in Washington, D.C., but throughout the United States.
Now, already, I imagine the Secret Service have been in Ireland doing their due diligence. It's a massive operation anytime a US president visits overseas.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's and one of the things, and this is why some of the media reports are conflicting and details are emerging. And a lot of it, to be honest, is conjecture. The Secret Service isn't very fond of letting the world know exactly what the president of the United States.
The clue is in their name.
They don't like letting word of his travel plans go too broadly. So I think a lot of what you see is conjecture. I'm almost at the stage where I believe it when I see it in terms of what his agenda is going to be. So yes, it's a massive operation, but I think what we can, pretty much guarantee is that he'll be in Dublin, he'll be in Belfast, he'll be in Mayo, and he'll be in Louth. And I think he's going to give at least one public address, probably in Dublin, in the mode of what Barack Obama did. And also, I think he's going to say something. Now, what he's going to say in Belfast, I'm not so sure. But this is going to be the tricky part. There are diplomatic issues here. There are some in the unionist community who believe that Joe Biden is too close, too much of an Irish Republican, an Irish nationalist. He needs to walk a very careful tightrope because, again, one of the things that I'm concerned about is that it's in the interest of everybody on these two islands, and in particular, the people of Northern Ireland, that Stormont get back up and running.
Yeah, and it will be very carefully chosen, his words and his speech will be. He's got a team of writers. Obviously, it'll have his fingerprints on it, but also they will be checking in advance as to what would be well received and what might not be well received, and where they feel they can push it a little bit, and areas in which they can't. Like, this is heavily staged, managed, even down to the words that will come out of his mouth in a couple next month.
It certainly is. And look, I say this as somebody who has a lot of respect for the president, who's a fan of the president, who thinks he's done very well despite what his detractors say. The fact is that Joe Biden does have an unfortunate penchant for sometimes saying things that he shouldn't say off the cuff and those sorts of things. So he needs to be careful that something like that isn't said. I'm confident it won't happen. But again, that's the kind of thing we don't want to see. We don't want any of anything about this visit to detract or distract or delay the important process of getting business going again in Stormont. So again, I don't think it'll happen. But look, I think we'd be blind to reality if we didn't recognize that Biden hasn't in the past said things, for instance, about the BBC, also said things like, I may be Irish, but I'm not stupid. So, he just needs to be careful about that stuff.
And I think Rishi Sunak is the type of UK Prime Minister that will want to make some capital out of this as well, particularly post-Brexit, and as they try and forge relationships around the world, and of course too in the context of what's happening in Eastern Europe.
Absolutely, that's true. And Rishi Sunak is also cognizant of something else, and that is that Joe Biden and his extraordinary commitment to Ireland, as well as the United States Congress, again, showing that Irish America's political clout is still alive and well, is effectively that unless things go well, to put it in simple terms, flowing from Brexit, that the UK is not going to get a good trade deal from the United States. Rishi Sunak recognizes the importance of that and will be very keen to ensure smooth sailing, despite, again, the reservations and concerns and the difficulties that some in the unionist community might present.
Quick question, if you don't mind, just curious for your insight into what's happening on Fox News and Tucker Carlson in particular, sort of rewriting the history as it relates to the Capitol protests, riots, and documents being released suggesting certain attitudes amongst Fox News presenters were at odds with maybe what they were presenting. What's happening in your view in America in the media at the moment in that regard, Larry?
It's a really good question. Do you have a couple of hours? What's happened is that a lot of behind the scenes, the Fox News presenters understand what their audience wants. And when you have the commodification of news and the tailoring of news, which should be objectively delivered to a certain audience, this is unfortunately the logical consequence of it. The Fox News presenters, despite what they knew to be objective reality, they also knew that a lot of their viewers didn't want to accept the fact that Donald Trump had lost the election, didn't want to accept the fact that January 6th was as bad as it truly was, and wanted to deliver what the people wanted, because at the end of the day, it boils down to ratings, boils down to advertising revenue. So this is the end game of a very sad chapter, I suppose, in American history. Fox News is the obvious example of that on the American political right. But if you look at MSNBC on the American political left, you could watch the coverage on those two stations of the exact same event and think you were watching something totally different.
Like, it's got to the point whereby some of these news shows now would really need to be flagged as, for entertainment purposes. The big long clarifications American ads have if they're advertising tablets or something medical. It would never happen. But I mean, the media over there is in the space from the outside looking in, whereby it is for entertainment, because what is real now is being portrayed or spun to suit a particular political stance of networks. And that is not news, Larry, and it's doing news a great disservice, I think.
It certainly is, absolutely, Greg. And one of the most chilling things to emerge from Tucker Carlson and what we're hearing, and also this ongoing lawsuit against Fox, is not just that these presenters are committed ideologues. In one way, I could say, okay, he's a committed right-wing person. This is what he believes, et cetera, is the fact that they don't even, in many cases, they don't even believe what they're saying. They are only saying it because they know that that's what the audience wants to hear. And when a reportedly news outlet goes down that avenue, it's very, very dangerous for the polity.
And very hard to come back from. It really is, because when you have two polarized sections of society and networks that play to either side of those, at what point do you return to sort of pre-days of that? I wouldn't like to unravel that. And unfortunately, we're seeing quite a bit of that outside in this country, for example, as well. Larry, always a pleasure to get your insights. Really do appreciate your time. Thank you so very much indeed. Larry Donnelly of the University of Galway. He's law lecturer there. Also a political columnist with the Journal. All right, I want to give you another reminder of our competition. Thanks to our friends at St Mary's GEA Convoy. They have a fantastic competition for €50,000 going to be won on St Patrick's Day. You can go on to their socials, St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, find out more information about it. But here's how you can win 2 free tickets today. Where are we?
On this week's show, with thanks to our sponsor, St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, we're giving you the chance to win 2 tickets to their 50k for €50 draw. To be in with a chance of winning these tickets, all you have to do is answer the following question. In the famous All-Ireland song from 2012, Jimmy's winning what? Is it A, matches, or B, footballs? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000.
Irish Music Month Finalist 1.
Okay, we're going to be announcing the winner of this competition tomorrow. We've got Oisin Ní taking part, of course, and
Music Month Finalist 2.
Charles James on the Rise, another cracking song. One of these is going to be going on to represent the Northwest in a big competition later this year. Midnight Preachers. Right, 3 out of 3, not bad so far. What do you think? And
Finalist 4.
Boy M5, we had them all live. You've been voting over the weekend. Your votes are in, and they have been counted. Our judges, our external panel of judges, are currently at the moment going through all of the live performances, and they are going to be coming up with a winner, and we are going to announce the winner on this programme tomorrow. So we're all very excited about that. Stay tuned for that. I just wanted to give you a reminder. The voting lines have closed, by the way, but they're all very familiar songs. It's amazing what airplay will do, isn't it? A caller says, what about the likes of my son who lives in America but comes home to Donegal twice a year? Will he need this now to travel to Strabane and Derry? Not quite sure. We don't know, you see. The details are still being finalised, but is he a legal resident in Ireland? I suspect he is, although he doesn't live here all the time. But that being said, anyone from Europe could be legally resident in Ireland, couldn't they? So I presume he will need this travel pass. You need an ESTA number to enter the USA, but Joanne said you need the number to book a flight, and that is not correct. I think what Joanne was saying is that I think it's pretty much generally accepted that if you fancy going into America, you have to have the ESTA document. And it's common knowledge. People go in with their eyes wide open, whereas it might not be made as clear coming here. Because if you're flying into Dublin, why would they start flagging the fact that you need a pass to go into the north? Right. A lot of Americans still believe that Ireland in its entirety is part of the UK. Lots of people believe lots of things, I get you. When will the penny ever drop that the partition of Ireland was a very bad idea? Hi, Greg. Could you get your money doctor to talk about the invest option on Revolut for those of us that are clueless when it comes to investing? It seems to have stock commodities, crypto in there. Everything is with risk. I'm not sure if we could talk specifically about one particular outlet, but look, maybe it is something that we could talk about. Okay, we have that hour in the bag. It's time to take a break for the news and obituary notices. Stay where you are. We've Community Garda information coming up for you after 10, where you hear first, before it appears elsewhere, the latest news, appeals and information from An Garda Síochána exclusively here every Tuesday morning just after 10.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Treat your mum this Mother's Day at Dunnes Stores with 20% off wine and champagne. And half price on a great selection of chocolates like Cadbury Roses, Heroes and Milk Tray. Plus, you can save even more with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill with double savers, new from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal Town.
In partnership with Hot Press magazine, Irish Music Month is all about recognising the value of Irish music to everyone in this country and across the world. Help us celebrate Irish Music Month as we play more Irish music than ever before, promote bands and artists, and provide a €100,000 fund for artists to perform on independent radio stations across the country. This is independent Irish radio supporting Irish music. This is Irish Music Month, supported by Hot Press, IBI and the BAI Sound and Vision Fund.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. Donegal Sinn Féin TD Patrick McLaughlin says data which has just been released on the number of eviction notices served from the third quarter last year underlined the need for government to reverse its decision to end the eviction ban. He was speaking after data released by the Residential Tenancies Board show that 88 eviction notices were served in Donegal from July until September last year. Deputy McLaughlin says were it not for the defective block crisis, those numbers would be much higher again. And along with the very low social housing build figures, indicates the extent of the crisis in this county.
As you're seeing across the country. But when you throw defective blocks on top of it, it's an impossible challenge for the council. So you need a special intervention from government. I mean, there's thousands of vacant homes all across Donegal that could be deployed in many instances. There are houses that the council can purchase with families in situ, so you purchase it from the person who wants to sell that property. But I don't get a sense of emergency from the government, and that's what we're facing. We have a profound housing emergency in this county.
The UK have announced the rollout of an electronic travel authorisation system for foreign visitors. While people of an Irish nationality have been excluded, concerns remain regarding overseas tourists visiting the island of Ireland as a whole. Dr. Joanne Stewart, CEO of the Northern Irish Tourism Alliance, says this will impact tourism industry in the north.
As part of the Good Friday Agreement, tourism and overseas tourism for Northern Ireland was changed to be marketed as part of the Island of Ireland destination. And basically, as a result of that, over 70% of our overseas tourists come via the Republic of Ireland and travel across the land border into Northern Ireland. And they're coming for a trip to the island of Ireland, so they visit north and south and are expecting seamless travel across the island, because that's how we've been developed.
Children have been telling the Education Minister how homework is causing them stress and leaving them with little free time. Norma Foley's been on the receiving end of letters from school students and their parents since the issue of a homework ban was first suggested by the President in January. The Irish Examiner quotes from a number of children letters with kids raising concerns about not getting enough free time to be creative or engage in sport, while one single parent outlined to the Minister how 2 hours of written homework each night means there's no time to teach her children life skills like cooking and how to use the washing machine. Joe Biden says he intends to visit Ireland early next month. He was officially invited to the Northern Ireland by UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak last night, and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar is expected to renew the invitation to make a trip to the Republic when he attends the St Patrick's Day reception at the White House this week. The dates haven't been yet revealed, but it's understood the visit will come after the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement on April 10th. Sean Defoe says Mr Biden is likely to schedule in a number of stops on his visit.
US President Joe Biden confirming he is going to come to Ireland and Northern Ireland next month to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, something that's going to act as a bit of a boost for the trip of Leo Varadkar to Washington, D.C. this week ahead of the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. He's due to meet President Joe Biden at the White House on Friday and also other congressional representatives. President Biden had been invited several times by the Irish government to visit and to go back to his roots in Mayo, if you like. It's expected he will do that as one of a number of stops when he visits next month.
Moves to upgrade older houses will be voted on at the European Parliament in Strasbourg today. The aim is to have all buildings carbon neutral by 2050. Irish MEP Sean Kelly is in favour of the new directive, which will include access to grants and funding for national governments. Mr Kelly says the plans must take account of the various climate realities in member states.
The EPPD should not be a one-size-fits-all approach, as buildings do not move across borders. Therefore, it is right that member states have sufficient degrees of flexibility to ensure cost effectiveness. Colleagues are right that this will take massive investment, and I've been encouraged to see the interest and the engagement of the financial sector. It is fundamental that we get proper access to finance for people, and I think we've achieved this.
And now to weather, cold and rather breezy with sunny spells and showers. Highest temperatures of just 4 to 7 degrees with an added wind chill. Moderate to fresh north gusterly winds. And that's all for now. We'll be back again at 11 o'clock with the news headlines. And until then, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 14th of March. The death has taken place of Patrick Paddy Hume, 6 Iona Park, Derry. Funeral from his home tomorrow morning at 9:30 for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Longtower, followed by interment in the city cemetery. Family time, please, from 9 o'clock tonight. The Mass can be viewed live via the church webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to Deeds, care of the Old Library Trust, Cregan. The death has taken place of Eamon McLaughlin, 2 Foster Terrace, Moville. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by cremation in Lakeland's Crematorium, Cavan at 5:15. Eamon's funeral Mass can be viewed live on movilleparish.com. Family time, please, from 9 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice or Coronary Care, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Edward Eddie Gallagher, Ballybun, Castlefin. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin, this morning at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin. The death has occurred of Kathleen Bannigan, née Buchanan, 39, Woodlawn, Stranorder. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorder at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to Mary's Meals, care of any family member. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Ida Sweeney, Green Hill, Letterkenny. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 in the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny. Burial afterwards in New Leck Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube channel. And the death has occurred of Eric Byrne, Roxborough, Kilcar. His remains are reposing at his late residence with wake until 10 o'clock nightly. Eric's funeral will take place in St Cartha's Church, Kilcar, on Thursday at 12 noon, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. House private pleas to family and close friends on the morning of the funeral. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Post now has no limits with digital stamps from On Post. Now you can send anytime from anywhere in Ireland and get next day delivery with notification, so you know when your post arrives. Download the On Post app now and send love like never before with digital stamps. On Post, for your world. Restrictions apply. See T's and C's at onpost.com.
Very modern altogether. Okay, 9 minutes past 10. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. Welcome back. If you were listening in the first hour, we had an interesting conversation about a travel document that may be required for visitors to this country if they're not from Britain or Ireland, or normally residents here travelling from the Republic into the north. And we also discussed with Larry Donnelly Joe Biden's visit to Ireland next month. All right, some of your comments coming in so far this morning. No, not offended with the drinking, fighting Irish opinion. I'm more offended by Biden being welcomed. That's the bigger picture that really affects us all. Regards from Mark. But why, Mark? Why is that bothering you? Good morning, Greg. It's okay to mock the Irish, but any other culture, it's a no-go. Why isn't Jimmy Kimmel sacked? If Colin and Brendan were black, and we all know what would happen, St. Patrick's is coming. The Yanks will be all dressed as leprechauns. Why don't we dress as blackface? What's good for the goose? Well, why would we be racist in defence of perhaps not liking the portrayal of us? Why would we offend people of colour? I don't understand the comparison there, but I do appreciate your texts. When will the penny ever drop that the partition of Ireland was a very bad idea, says a caller. Another, good morning, Greg. Homework did no harm to other generations, yet the snowflakes these days complain about everything. Parents that basically don't want to do work with their children. They want the easy life. Homework is essential, believes this caller. When you write stuff down, you remember it better, they say. Very bad hailstones up in the Carndonagh area, a listener says. That was an hour ago. Sorry, I just only got to that. My mistake. Hopefully things have eased there. Good morning, Greg. Let's invite Biden, the man who said he may be Irish, but he ain't stupid. What a thing to say. Will they ask him about that comment? You heard Larry reference that, actually. I hadn't heard that one before. Morning, Greg. Can you just let anyone know that the back road from Drumkeen to Letterkenny to Atran has heavy snow indeed, and as soon as the temperatures get to a certain low, it's just a road I would avoid, but some people can't. They might live on it. Congratulations to Highland Radio for putting on an excellent Irish language speaking segment on the naughty alarm clock after 8 this morning. I hope Highland does a lot more of these Irish language speaking segments going forward. Okay, thanks for that. Hi, Greg. Could this be read out? Recently changed electricity providers. Smart meter was activated without consent. They said they cannot deactivate the meter. Has anyone been in this situation? Any help would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. I do know of many people who got a letter informing them that they were getting a smart meter informed, but they didn't really pay any attention to it, because a lot of letters come through and you kind of recognise that it's just the bill and you throw it on the counter. And then they had the smart meter installed. That's pretty much giving your consent if you don't object once you've got the notification. This person who contacted us said that they got a smart meter installed without their consent. Can it be deactivated? Can you roll back from the smart meter to analog? I would suggest not. Do they actually take out the old analog meter? I wonder when they are inserting the smart meter. I haven't really seen how it works. Right, lots and lots of reaction yesterday to our conversation between two guests as it relates to proposals, plans, the conversation about teaching transgender issues to 8 and 9-year-olds in schools. I feel like we're at the start of the conversation here, and yet it seems like it's just about to be implemented. But anyway, some of your comments here, as I committed to at the end of the show yesterday. I agree with Paddy Tobin. Hayley's points issues are for adults only, over 18 at least. Hayley used words, children are flexible. That to me is a red alert, because children are not mature enough to discern such issues in their lives. Parents know their own children, and a happy childhood without unnecessary confusion is vital for the well-being of all. But we are talking about, we're not talking about all children. We are talking about a very small amount of children compared to the national population. Maybe you are a parent of a child that it became apparent very early in their life. You know, this conversation seems to be along the lines of that 8 and 9-year-olds, born male, identify as male, playing with boys' toys. Not that it's really as much like that anymore, but just for the sake of this statement. And girls, you know, love playing with dolls, right? And then at 8 or 9, they go into school and they're taught about transgender issues, and then all of a sudden they start questioning themselves, believing that they aren't who they thought they were and all that kind of stuff. Is that actually happening, or is it that there's a child in the school from 4, 5, 6 or 7 and they may have been born male or female, but I act or feel that they aren't that, and this is to have a conversation so they feel that they're in a safe place and that other children understand that there are people like that as they go out into the big bold world. Are those two scenarios mutually exclusive? I don't know. Maybe you're the parent of a child who from an early age identified as a gender not to which they were born as. Let us know and help us help everyone understand. Regarding the discussion about terminology used nowadays, yes, there are times when we need to be sensible and sensitive to different situations, such as when a child has lost a parent. But my opinion is the more we overemphasize things, the bigger an issue it becomes. Maybe we should be putting the focus on raising resilient children rather than always being on the defensive about terms used. Of course, we should all value and respect each other, but the need to be so PC has become ridiculous. But I don't necessarily think in certain scenarios it's about political correctness. Okay, it's about really the experience of children. Like if a child, say for instance, lost their parents in a car crash and the teacher was aware of that, right? Would you then that year or the next year, you know, introduce a book or a film to the classroom or a conversation about car crashes without saying, hold on, yeah, we have to be careful here because this conversation might affect those children with what they've gone through? Or are you saying we should just teach them resilience and actually, you know, batter on and if it upsets them, it upsets them? And I'm not putting words in your mouth, by the way, and I hope you don't think I am, and I'm not disagreeing with you either, by the way, just to be very, very clear. I'm just sort of trying to expand the conversation and tease different views out there. But you would, wouldn't you? If I were a teacher and I knew that had happened, I would be careful if such an issue were to come up so as not to further harm that child. Or maybe I'd be wrong in doing so, and you should say, you know, suck it up. That's life. Filling children's heads with sexual issues at 8 or 9 years old is an abuse of children. Okay, so just, I would love you to text back. I know you texted yesterday. Hopefully you're listening today. Obviously talking about the birds and the bees, what bits people have and what they might do with them. Okay, let me put it like that there. For 8 or 9 year olds, I think most people would think no, or at least would want to know what's being said. But if they're told that there are people who identify a different way to which they're born, right, without going into the ins and outs of it, right, is that acceptable, or is that seen as sexual? Because one's gender, one's sex, right? Would that be acceptable, or is it a no-go area, caller, right across the board for 8 or 9 year olds? What do you think? But see, the problem is I have, 3 kids, of course, but one of them, completely different to the other, would be far more capable of absorbing information and processing it and understanding it than the other. And that's not a criticism of either, it's just personalities. I don't know how you can judge all children the same in terms of what they're able to understand or how it's told to them. But I'll read this listener's comment from the beginning to the end so they don't believe that I'm in any way trying to edit it. Filling children's heads with sexual issues at 8 or 9 years old is abuse of children. Children should be allowed to enjoy their childhood. Why are changing the words mother, father, etc. to accommodate LGBT and transgender people a minority? Why are we changing the world, turning it upside down to please a minority? Now, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, you've grouped in a whole group of people there as they are grouped in. But there are people within that group that might fully agree with you as well, that group that you've laid out there. Children in primary school have enough to deal with. I wouldn't mind it being taught in secondary school, but primary school is too young. And this is why parents need to be consulted. Teaching children about gay or trans people will not make your child trans or gay, believes this listener. If we don't teach them about the real world, they'll get their misinformation elsewhere. Patter is against teaching consent and the new sex ed programme. Also, surely as a country, we must realise that has not worked well for us in the past. We need to be open and transparent, but we also need to be sure, and we don't know yet, and I hope this forms part of the conversation, what is taught to children, how it's taught to them, and what impact how it is taught to them has on them. Because, of course, this listener here very clearly, and I think they're probably referencing the fact that children were abused in horrendous numbers in the past and probably didn't know what was happening to them because there was no education, right? And they weren't able to sort of say, this is wrong, or you shouldn't be doing that, or didn't know how to relate what was happening to them to an adult that they trust. We don't ever want to be in that situation, do we? But we also have to make sure that in what we say to them and how we educate them on anything for that matter is not also damaging to them. Clearly not in the same way. But do we know at this point, right, how, and sorry if I keep saying right, it's just as I gather my thoughts, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, would it have any negative impact on them having this information? And I think we need to be very clear on that, wouldn't we? If you don't want your child educated according to the Catholic Church, don't send them to a Catholic school. Simple as that. Another, what is the psychological advice on teaching this in schools to children under 12? Where is the carefree childhood in later life they can live and learn? Another, why is it always blamed on the Catholic Church? I don't know of any religion that is for this. She's not a real Catholic, and ask her what her views are on the Muslim view on transgenderism education. There's 2 genders, male and female, to teach the kids. Some of these are actually referencing a conversation on Friday, but we covered that on Friday. It's up to parents to teach their children. It's worked for thousands of years and the world did not stop, says another. Another, we don't teach primary school children about paedophilia, suicides, murders. We protect their innocence for as long as possible. Yeah, but I mean, I presume lots of parents have had to have these conversations with children that have been exposed to or are victims of some of the things that you talk about here. Another says, this country cracks me up. The Catholic Church built these schools. Now we're saying you may own them, but we want authority to run them. If you don't like their teaching, send your kids elsewhere. There is no way the people of Ireland would walk into a Muslim school and tell them what to teach in their school. It simply would not happen. My daughter came back from school and she told me that they were learning about transsexuals, asexuals, bisexuals, gay, lesbian, non-binary, and so on. I asked, was she taught about heterosexuality? She didn't know what I was talking about, right, which is an interesting statement. Another, if you don't want your child educated according to the Catholic ethos, don't send them to a Catholic school. I think that's in response to a little bit of criticism of the Catholic Schools Authority weighing in on that issue. On the point of transgenderism, caller says that whatever people choose to identify as their choice and should be respected, but we should not be discussing this with small children in schools. Let children be children, they say. At the end of the day, we are pleasing a very small percentage of our society by doing this. Listen, that's quite a broad sample of what was coming in. I think so far from what people are saying to us on this show is that, broadly speaking, parents are either against or are very nervous about what and how is being taught in the schools. It's a developing conversation, one which we'll return to. We appreciate all of you taking part in that conversation. Here are the bingo numbers. Good luck if you are playing today.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 14th of March. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 11. The numbers are 66, 5, 46, 9, 29, 86, 84, 6, 74, and finally 39. phone your claim to 91048333 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Sheridan Security, now introducing Zero Wire Smart Alarm Systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Join the celebration this St. Patrick's Day in Letterkenny. Live music with the Hillbillies on stage at the Market Square from 1:30 with MC Keith Fletcher, Callum Keaveney, and a celebration photo frame at the Courthouse. A special photo booth and music by Folk and About on the main street, and the parade gets underway at 3. Come early to get your spot along the route for this year's St. Patrick's Day parade in Letterkenny.
It's St. Patrick's Week at Salento Strabane, and that means euro for pound at Salento. But even more importantly, it's Mother's Day on Sunday. So thank your mum with something special from Salento. And thanks St. Patrick for euro for pound. Salento Strabane. Look good, feel great.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your Zero Wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, it's 24 minutes past 10 on this Tuesday, the 14th of March, and it's time for today's edition of Community Garda Information. And delighted to welcome into the studio Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny District Station. Good morning to you, Grania. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Okay, we have some questions to answer. I'm sure we'll have the Donegal Youth Awards reminder.
We will, yeah.
And we have some information on St. Patrick's Day as well. But let's start with some appeals and how the public might be able to help in relation to a road traffic collision in Letterkenny, Grania.
Yeah, so this collision happened on the Port Road out actually very close to the Dry Arch filling station there. So it involved a pedestrian and a car. It happened on Thursday the 9th of March, so shortly before 11 p.m. So Gardaí were at the scene and they spoke to all parties involved at the scene. The pedestrian was taken on to Letterkenny University Hospital to receive medical treatment for injuries they sustained. So we just wish to speak to anybody who travelled on that route, who witnessed the collision firstly, but anybody also who may have had a dash cam that travelled on that stretch of road. We would like to hear from them also. So Gardaí in Letterkenny may be contacted on 9167 100, and perhaps there was somebody in and around the filling station itself that may have witnessed the collision also that we could speak to.
All right. Your colleagues in Ballyshannon investigating a really quite significant theft close to Mount Charles.
Yeah, and this is quite an unusual one for these parts. I know that this was quite commonplace for a number of months last year. I know mid last year, maybe down the country. But so Gardaí in Ballyshannon, they're investigating the theft of 1.5 tonne of copper cable from a yard. This yard was at Drumkeelan, Mount Charles. This happened on Thursday, the 9th of March, the early hours, between 12:30 and 1:20 a.m. So as part of this investigation, the guards are particularly interested in any sightings of a white van in that area around that time. So we appeal again to anybody who travelled in that area who had a dash cam. We're particularly interested in speaking to them to make the footage available to us. And as we often say, just it's only a matter of dropping the footage into the station and the guards then will go through the footage. And if anybody has any other relevant information, we also ask them to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and as always the Garda Confidential line may be contacted on 1800 666 111.
All right, back to Letterkenny now, and your colleagues investigating criminal damage in Manor Cunningham.
Yeah, so this incident happened in the White Hill area of Manor Cunningham, happened on the morning of Friday the 10th of March, shortly after midnight. So a jeep had been parked up at a yard at a house in that area. It was set alight. So we appeal for dashcam footage again from anybody who may have travelled in that area in the early hours of Friday morning past, shortly after midnight. We are particularly interested in any sightings of a man, a lone male, who was on foot in that area around that time. if anybody can assist in any way with this appeal, contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100.
I mean, this is troubling, but the fact it was parked close to a residential property as well.
It was parked on the yard, joined onto the house, yeah.
Maureen, okay. Now, investigations ongoing into an incident on the grounds of Letterkenny University Hospital.
Yeah, so another quite a similar type of incident actually. So this criminal damage incident happened in the early hours of Saturday the 11th of March, so between 2:05am and 2:10am. So it was a red Toyota Vitz at partial registration number 12D61. This car it's just set alight and abandoned. It was abandoned on the hospital grounds, quite near where the main entrance to the hospital is. So just when you go in the main entrance, slightly over to the left.
Was this the lower main entrance?
No, the main entrance into the hospital.
Yeah,
the wee roundabout there. It branched off slightly to the left-hand side, and it was just abandoned on the wrong side of the road in there on the hospital grounds. Had been set alight. So just we appeal to anybody who may have witnessed the incident, who may have witnessed the vehicle being set alight. We appeal to anybody who may have seen this car being driven in and around the area of Letterkenny town or captured it on their dashcam footage. The car again is a red Toyota Vitz, partial reg 12D61. So if anybody has any information in relation to that or dashcam footage that they believe might assist us, contact us in Letterkenny on 9167100.
All right, back to Ballyshannon here, and a number of incidents of criminal damage being investigated.
Yeah, so these incidents happened at St Benildus, I hope I'm saying that properly, St Benildus Avenue there in Ballyshannon. So they happened between 1:30am and 9:30am on Thursday the 9th of March. Residents in that area, they just had parked their cars overnight. The following morning, they discovered that quite substantial damage had been caused to their cars. The cars had been keyed. Some of the cars had the bonnets keyed and the doors keyed, and other cars had just the doors keyed, but quite a bit of damage done there. There was 4 separate vehicles that were damaged in that area. So residents in that area, maybe who may have seen or heard anything, we're appealing to anybody who may have witnessed any suspicious activity in that area on that date to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and again the confidential line if they wish to contact them.
Yeah, and when you talk about, say for instance, people might have a doorbell that records or whatever, you're not talking about necessarily all the time the incidents occurring at that time. It's activity that might seem unusual and may be connected that can help form part of the investigation and find those responsible. Because if it was this area on that particular night, who is to say it won't be another area on another night? The sooner these people are spoken to, I think the better.
Exactly. And look, it could be as simple as a resident in that area could have heard noise or chattering outside and looked out and maybe seen 1-2 people, something that might have seemed insignificant to them, but that information may be invaluable to us. So we would ask them if they have seen any sort of activity in that area between those times. I mean, in the middle of the night, if you heard any sort of commotion and you happen to look out, we would like to hear from you.
Yeah, it's either quite a lot of people in a very short space of time or fewer people, and they're going to have to be on scene for quite some time. So someone hopefully saw something there. Right now I mentioned, and it's great to be talking about this again because I think it really is a super initiative, and that's the Donegal Youth Awards. It's just a further reminder to the public, Grania.
It is, and I know it was mentioned last week now, we're like a long playing record, but just we're eager now to give everybody an opportunity.
Just entitled that deserves the nomination.
Exactly, yeah. And we did send out the forms to the schools and to clubs, round Donegal, round the division, but it's just too, look, it's easy to forget these things too, so it's just to issue a reminder. So the closing date for nominations is the 27th of March, Monday the 27th, and the nominations have to be in by midday on that date to be considered. So the Donegal Garda Youth Awards are held every year in conjunction with the Joint Policing Committee, and they celebrate outstanding young people. The young people have to be between the ages of 13 and 21 and from throughout the Donegal area. So we're inviting people, look, if you know of a young person, a group of young people who are committed to making a difference within their community during 2022, we'd love to hear from you. Get the nominations in. There are 4 separate awards categories: the Individual Award, Group Award, Special Achievement Award and Community Safety Award. So this year's adjudicators are Judge Etchin Cunningham, Inspector Paul McGee and Councillor Jerry McMonigal. The forms can be obtained at any of the Letterkenny, Milford, Ballyshannon or Buncrana Garda stations. You can go to our Facebook page. There's a link on our Facebook page to download the forms, or the Donegal County Council website. They also have the links on their website to download the forms. And send the form back to Letterkenny Garda station and just mark it for my attention, Grania Doherty at the station. So You can also you can email it into to Donegal Garda Youth Awards at garda.ie, or you can drop it into your local station, either Milford or Buncrana if you want, and they can forward them on over to me.
Brilliant. Okay. It's a fantastic initiative, and even just being nominated, everyone who's nominated is recognised. And I think that's a brilliant thing. Right, now we get this contact quite regularly. A listener contacted the show last week in relation to foreign registered cars that are in Ireland and being driven by people presumably now living in Ireland. The caller wanted to know if those cars fall under the same regulations that UK registered cars do when owned and driven by a resident of Ireland. So just to frame this a little bit better, I mean, clearly what we're talking about here, I imagine, is people maybe with a car from Ukraine that they've been here for now quite some time and they're driving around, yet someone who has buys a car in the north and tries to drive around very quickly, they're pulled over and dealt with the full rigours of the law. So I presume that's where this comment is coming from, and we do get an awful lot of people concerned, seemingly, about foreign registered vehicles, let's just say Ukrainian vehicles, for example, being driven routinely now across Ireland. What is the law? Do the same laws not apply to them?
Yeah, well, look, if you move to Ireland and you live here for 12 months or more, well, just in relation to the driving licence first, I wanted to cover that also. So if you live here for a year or more as a permanent resident, you must transfer your driving licence over to an Irish driving licence. So that's just something for people to be aware of. If you come to Ireland and you bring from, regardless of what country you come from, if you bring your foreign registered car with you, you must register it immediately if you intend on staying here as a permanent resident of Ireland. So the same rules would apply if you're a permanent resident of Ireland and you want to buy a UK registered car.
Yeah, but what if you stop me at a checkpoint, right, and I'm driving a Ukrainian vehicle, and this is not to target the individuals at all, but this is what we're talking about, and you say, why aren't you re-registered your vehicle? I say, well, I'm here, because I'm fleeing a war. I hope to return next month.
To return to
Ukraine, for example. Do you know what I mean? I can't say for certain that I'm going to be here in a year, 2 years, or 3 years. What would happen in that instance?
Well, you see, really, I suppose if a guard stops somebody at a checkpoint and they're maybe aware of the person that they're definite, in relation to the fact that this person is a permanent resident of Ireland, and they're driving a foreign registered car, then in which case. And look, I suppose it's primarily an issue for revenue. It would be more of a revenue issue.
I think what people want to know is, are the same rules being applied to everyone in this country equally by Gardaí all of the time now?
Well, the rules are being applied equally, but it would matter, if you're a permanent resident, the rules are totally different to somebody who brings a foreign registered car here who has no intention of living here.
Yeah.
And this won't be their primary residence on a permanent basis. When you have people that come from various countries that bring their car, they remain here maybe 1 month, 2 months, but their intention is to travel home. And in which case then their only obligation is to ensure that the car is fully insured, roadworthy, same as every other car. And the guards do check that. They check their insurance, check their papers. But we have to be certain that that person is a permanent resident in Ireland. We do our background checks, of course, then after maybe stopping a car, we do our background checks. We take note of the registration number and we will check. The guards do regularly check. They just don't take these stories at face value at the roadside either. So they do check, is this person here on a permanent basis? And then maybe if it's discovered that the person was not being truthful and they are here as a permanent resident, and when the guard comes across that person again, then the matter will be dealt with then. But we have to be sure in the fact that that person is a permanent resident, or we have to verify the story to see are they only here
because you can't spot a foreign registered vehicle, let's put it like that, and all of a sudden fear the worst and spend tons of resources trying to find out the exact background and intentions of the driver. That's not really how law enforcement works in any scenario, really, presumably.
No. Well, we have to have our facts in a row. We have to have everything correct before we seize any vehicle or before we take action of any sort. So the background checks would be done, and if somebody stopped, regardless of where they're from, if they're driving a foreign registered car, they would be stopped, their details would be taken, and then whatever facts you're given at the roadside will be checked. These facts will be checked after the fact, and if the car stopped again, and if you have been given false information and you have discovered in the meantime that in fact this person is a permanent resident in Ireland, then they will be dealt with in the same manner as any other resident in the country, and their car will be seized and they will be dealt with accordingly.
All right, another question came in about L plates. Now, this is the perception of this caller. They were out and about in Letterkenny, just to shorten it a little bit. They spotted loads of cars, 6 cars, I think, with L plates up, and then they concluded that because the drivers were young, that they must be the unaccompanied L driver. Now, we don't know if that's the case because there could be twins You know, one's an L driver and the other's fully qualified, but then you'd expect to see an N on the car as well, of course, right? Perhaps, dependent on their age. But anyway, what is the situation with drivers on a learner permit? Their car is in their name, it's fully taxed, it's fully insured, but they have to have a fully licensed driver on board with them at all times. Is that the case?
They do. And we want to remind all learner drivers who are tuned in this morning, or perhaps maybe parents out there who have a young person in their house who is a learner permit holder, they have to be, by law, they have to be accompanied by a qualified driver at all times while driving. And the Clancy Amendment, we've discussed the Clancy Amendment before, so it's now 4 years, over 4 years in December actually, since the Clancy Amendment was introduced. It was introduced to improve safety on the roads by providing us, the guards, with an additional power to seize vehicles from learner drivers who are detected driving a vehicle while unaccompanied by a qualified driver. So under the Clancy provision, learner or unlicensed drivers who choose to ignore this legislation, they will have their car seized. Their cars are being seized. That's not discretionary.
The car will be seized.
No, the car will be seized, and the cars are being seized. I know from talking to especially the roads policing unit, these cars are being seized on quite a regular basis. But just something for people to be aware of also, owners of vehicles. Again, I'm picking on the parents, but a parent or whoever owns the car, if they willingly allow a learner driver to go out, they're well aware that they're going off out on the road today with their L plate, they're not accompanied. If they're aware of that fact, that person can face prosecution, the owner of the vehicle, and the vehicle will be seized also. So, and they are regularly seized, When
you say seized, just can they be released? Is a payment made to release the vehicle, or are they gone?
Oh no, they can be released, but it will be the owner of the vehicle.
Understood.
They would have to pay a seizure release fee then.
No problem.
And when the car is seized, there's a fee that has to be paid when it's seized. But each day then that the car is in our possession, there's an additional fee per day as well. Yeah. So also the driver, the learner driver, they would get a fixed penalty notice also. So they would face a fine of €80 and they would receive 2 penalty points, which wouldn't be good. If you're a learner driver, you want to avoid getting penalty points at all costs. Everybody wants to avoid getting penalty points, but starting out in your driving career, you certainly don't want to be letting them mount up. So the learner driver is only covered by their insurance company if it states so in the terms of their insurance. So when a learner driver stopped, they're asked, same as everybody else, they're given the 10 days to produce their insurance cert. The terms of that insurance policy then will be read in detail by whichever guard stopped them at the roadside. So that's something they should be aware of. So just look at really what we want to learner drivers today. Please don't go out driving unaccompanied. Owners of cars also, something that people may not have been aware of, they can face prosecution if they allow their young person out on the roads. Just one other thing, I hadn't got it here in the notes, but just for people who are the holder of a learner permit, just something for them to be aware of. If you're only covered to drive on a learner permit in the jurisdiction from which that permit was issued. So, somebody residing in Donegal, their permit was issued here in Letterkenny or in Donegal. That won't cover them outside that jurisdiction to drive as a learner driver.
Outside the Republic?
Yeah, and it's the same. If it's issued in Northern Ireland, they won't be covered then on this side. It's just something maybe people weren't aware of, and it's something for them to be aware of as well.
So, even accompanied, they couldn't go into Derry?
No, not a learner driver. No, their permit's only valid in the jurisdiction.
Not just to clarify, even accompanied, that is the case. All right, that's very, very interesting. Just looking out over your shoulder there, the snow is tipping it down. So if you're out and about, dependent on where you are, but particularly on high ground, the snow is still with us. It's bucketing down here at the mountain top. Right, okay, it's not going to be snowing on St. Patrick's Day, thankfully. It's going to be much milder, and we're going to have some sunshine and some showers. But it's a busy weekend for Gardaí.
It is, yeah. And look, we're asking all road users, it's the same spiel every year. Coming up to St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is an extremely busy day for Gardaí, both on the streets in relation to public order issues and both out in the roads also. So we're urging all road users firstly to act responsibly, make responsible road safety decisions this St. Patrick's Day and over the course of the weekend. Listen, the last thing anybody wants is a tragedy, and we're asking people just to make safe decisions. And there is a roads policing operation in place. I was speaking to the sergeant in charge there of the roads policing unit, and it will take place over St. Patrick's Day itself, but it also will continue on over the weekend until 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So they will be out enforcing the roads, checkpoints will be held, speed checks, and Gardaí will also maintain a visible presence on the streets, around St. Patrick's Day. So our priority is to keep people safe. We want to prevent death and injury on our roads. So we're also appealing to those who will be out socialising and consuming alcohol to leave their car at home. Designate a driver or arrange a lift in advance, contact a taxi. And remember as well that you may be over the limit the morning after. So we're urging people not to drive while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And please also never get into a car. If you're aware that the driver has consumed alcohol or drugs, don't get into that car as a passenger.
Ring someone that cares about you. You know,
Exactly,
no one minds getting that call. Might be a bit crabbed and give out, right? But I think any of us would prefer a call at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, get in the car, get out of bed and pick you up, than thinking that you're jumping into the back of a car, maybe with no seatbelt, with someone who might be under the influence. You know, so passengers have a big responsibility here, but call us. You know,
And
I
as
would
you
suggest.
say, you're going, look at your mammy or daddy or whoever, they're going to be crabbed if it's 4 a.m.
But they want you
or
home
3
safe.
a.m.
Yeah.
They would rather receive a call from you than a call from us or the hospital to say, you know, that the worst has happened, and the crabbiness will only last a few minutes.
Exactly.
And they will come for you. They love you at the end of the day, and that's the safest option. Look, if you can't get a taxi, do ring someone from home and ask them to come. And listen, if it's a case that you're stuck in the town, maybe you've no phone credit, your battery's died, whatever the case is, you can't get a taxi, call up to the Garda station. Call up and ask us. We'll ring home for you, or we'll try and ring a taxi or your family or somebody. But just don't take that chance. That's all we're asking people. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And be well aware of the half-life of alcohol and drugs as well, particularly drugs. Obviously, they're illegal to take, but there are more detections now than there ever was of people driving under the influence of drugs. And it may not be just immediately after they've taken them, or alcohol, that they can both stay in your system for quite some time after you've finished. If you finished using them, so just be aware of that as well. Right, okay, so obviously the biggest parade on Friday is in Letterkenny, and there's a bit of a policing operation there to allow the parade travel through the town smoothly, but allow people to get access to go up and see it. So what's happening?
Yeah, so look, same as every year, there's going to be a temporary road closure here in Letterkenny on St Patrick's Day, just to allow for the parade and the festivities that go with that. So between 1 and 5 p.m, between the Port Road, between the station roundabout really, from the station roundabout the whole way up Main Street to the very end of Lower Main Street, the whole Main Street's going to be shut. That's it, between those hours, between 1 and 5.
That's it.
That's a very detailed road closure.
You're going to look at, hey, I'm not getting into the specifics. From there to there, that's it. Deal with it.
From the station roundabout to the old Duns, shut.
End of story.
But that's the way it is,
no further
really.
questions.
We can go into all other bits if you want, but, but that sums it up.
That sums it up, indeed.
So, and listen, it's only for everybody's safety as well. And of course, listen, if anybody has specific needs, such as, you know, they need disabled park and things like that, bring that to our attention. That'll be accommodated. Yeah. And we want to wish everybody a happy St Patrick's Day, a safe and responsible one. Many families go out. Look, it's a big family day. It's not just for those out revelling, socialising. A lot of families go out. It's a family day.
Brilliant.
We want everybody to enjoy the day. So if everybody acts in a responsible manner, hopefully they should. So.
All right, good. And let's hope that... And listen, no one wants to wake up the next day with a sore head in the Garda station or with a court date ahead of them. I don't think anyone would willingly want to do that. So just before you go, a couple of messages coming in. What about Ukrainians? They have no tax, no insurance because guards can't understand their language. I mean, listen, there's an arrangement. We covered this before with the Insurance Federation of Ireland. There is an arrangement between Ireland and the Ukraine whereby they can continue paying their insurance in the Ukraine and they're covered to drive here. That is covered. I don't know what the story is, re-tax or whatever, but listen, they're not getting around checkpoints or what have you because the guards can't speak Ukrainian or they can't speak English, presumably. I mean, that is something that's spread on social media and I think people believe it to be fact. You're a guard, right? You're not going to sit there and tell us something that's not true. Routinely, are people from other countries, let's just say Ukraine, driving around in cars that are neither insured or taxed, and guards can do nothing about them because they can't speak their language and they're not seizing the vehicles because the people aren't registered in the state.
No, most certainly not. And as I explained earlier, you know, those cars, regardless Ukraine, wherever their cars are from, if they're on foreign registered plates, those people, if they are going to remain in Ireland and they're going to be here on a permanent basis, their cars will have to be re-registered, same as everybody else. But the insurance issue, that certainly is not overlooked. That's a very big issue for guards. Insurance is of utmost importance. So we have actually got an interpretation service that we can get by phone. We use it regularly at the station. So if it is a case that somebody stopped at the roadside, we can get a translation service on the phone to conduct a conversation with, regardless of what language you're dealing with. So yeah, no, definitely not. No,
that's all language. And listen, it's not a focus. It's not certainly a focus on the Ukraine. And I wasn't drawing you into that. Grania, but I imagine I'm just referencing in the reality what a lot of people's concerns may be. So there's no point pussyfooting around it from my perspective, you get me. All right, Garda Grania Doherty, thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 14th of March. It'll be available for you to listen back on our website or watch on our social media and on the Facebook account of An Garda Síochána later today. We're back with you with it live next week after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
New this week in Home Store and More. All mattress protectors are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price mattress protectors are gone, they're gone. Also, all Pyrex are still half price. But when all the half price Pyrex are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Arcadia Retail Park Athlone. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Century Complex is now serving pizza in our new and improved Bidas Corner bar. We have a wide range of delicious pizza options available. Call us on 074 9121976 to book your table. And don't forget, Century Cinemas is located just across the car park. Check out centurycinemas.ie for movie times and tickets.
Are you building, moving or renovating in 2023? Think Irwin's Expert Electrical for all your home appliances, big and small. With all the top brands including Bosch, Samsung, LG, Neff and more. Secure your products now with a deposit until you're ready. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
It's St Patrick's Week at Salento Strabane, and that means euro for pound at Salento. But even more importantly, it's Mother's Day on Sunday. So thank your mum with something special from Salento. And thanks St Patrick for euro for pound. Salento Strabane. Look good, feel great.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know about a great tumble dryer that will save you time and energy. The Blomberg 8kg dryer has a selection of sensor programs that allows you to decide exactly how dry you'd like your laundry, and smart technologies to help you reduce your energy costs. It also comes with an amazing 7-year parts and labour warranty. Call into us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Are you looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan? New kitchen, bathroom or bedroom? For whatever you're planning, B&S Credit Union's Renovate Loan is ready to go. Loans from €5,000 to €70,000. Visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
The perfect Mother's Day gift to see the one and only Tom Jones in Belfast. Join us as Highland Radio hit the road to see the timeless legend as he headlines Belsonic 2023, Friday 16th of June. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast in the 4-star Clayton Hotel Belfast and your standing ticket to the outdoor event. Contact us today on 074 9125,000 to see Tom Jones at Ormo Park Belfast, Friday 16th of June.
Highland
Ireland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, cold and rather breezy today with sunny spells and showers. The showers most frequent in the morning and afternoon. Many of these will be wintry with the chance of hail and thunder. Highest temperatures of just 4 to 7 degrees with an added wind chill owing to moderate to fresh and gusty northwesterly winds. Okay, bit of a treat for you now because singer-songwriter George Houston's back in studio. Hey, George, how are you getting on?
Oh, good. How are you?
Great, and it's good to have you back in with us.
Thank you for having me.
From Inishowen. You're pretty young in your career, but at the same time you've been around a bit too. It says in the blog here, George's young career, but you've been performing quite a while now.
First song out on the 18th of September 2020, if you want an exact date.
Thanks for that. Yeah, indeed. All right. And how has it been? Because it's a tough enough old slog to get your art out there too, isn't it?
I think it's just with the COVID that kind of put a big pause on everything. But everything's been, ever since things have opened up, there's gigs everywhere, and people are mad to get back at live music and hear live musicians playing. And I think that there's a real taste for it.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you record music, you put it out there, and we're going to talk about your album launch shortly, but there can be nothing better than sort of getting out in front of people, I'd imagine. And you've been on some big gigs too, haven't you?
Last year we were doing Stendhal Festival with Sister Sledge and Villagers, and Hayseed Dixies were headlining. Like, they're just class musicians. I've been listening to them since I was wee. And then I supported for the Hot House Flowers on a Christmas show in the Guildhall in Derry, which is definitely the biggest show I've ever done. It was fantastic to meet them all.
What was it like getting out on stage and, you know, did you allow yourself to see how many people were there and them all kind of like surrounding you and just waiting for you to start? Like, what's that emotion like?
It was just exhilarating, really, but I suppose every stage is different, and the Guildhall is this real eerie vibe, like this huge cathedral, and there's a real echo off of everything I was saying. So it was just, I suppose,
you could hear yourself backing on the monitor.
I could hear myself gulping and everything.
But do you get nervous, and do you use that nerves to your advantage? Because people always believe nerves to be a negative thing, but once you can use nerves, if you don't get nerves, it's bad. And then once you can use those nerves to your advantage, do you know what I mean? Because it's the flight and fight.
Yeah,
you can really use them to sort of feed back into your performance, can't you?
I probably just get an adrenaline rush, really, and it kind of, I do think it helps get some of those high notes out, and but probably I'm more nervous after the show, because then it's kind of seeing what the verdict is and seeing how it went. That's when I get the nerves.
Okay, I suppose, right. Now, we're going to hear 2 songs from you. We'll talk about the album launch later this month. Shall we go with The Other Man first?
Yeah, okay.
All right, whenever you're ready, take it away. This is George Houston, singer-songwriter from Inishowen, already enjoying a great deal of success, and his new album's coming out later this month. This is The Other Man.
Why would you tell the truth if you could lie? Why would you tell the truth if you could lie? Because it's easy, the truth is cursed, but I've already been lied to. That's the part that hurts. You want a clean slate, I'd like it dirty. I'm barely over age, and babe, you're pushing 30. I'm not naive, I know you're a cheater. At least it isn't me who has to come out and leave her. Don't touch my hair, don't take my hand. Can't believe you made me the other man. I don't wanna be the other man. I don't wanna be lying in my bed awake, no worries or regrets, except the smell of you and menthol cigarettes. You ask again to wait, well, I don't stay up late, not for you to tell me how I hesitate. Why would you tell the truth if you could lie? Why would you tell the truth if you could lie? Because it's easy, the truth is cursed, but I've already been lied to. That's the part that hurts. You want a clean slate, I'd like it dirty. I'm barely over age, and babe, you're pushing 30. I'm not naive, I know you're a cheater. At least it isn't me who has to come out and leave her. Don't touch my hair, don't take my hand. Can't believe you made me the other man. I don't wanna be the other man. I don't wanna be, because it's easy, the truth is cursed, but I've already been lied to. That's the part that hurts. You want a clean slate, I'd like it dirty. I'm barely over age, and babe, you're pushing 30. I'm not naive, I know you're a cheater. At least it isn't me who has to come out and leave her. Don't touch my hair, don't take my hand. Can't believe you made me the other man. I don't wanna be the other man. I don't wanna be. So tell me, why would you tell the truth if you could lie? Why would you tell the truth if you could lie?
Well done, George Houston there and The Other Man. So, I mean, there's a maturity to the songwriting there now. I mean, you're talking about, a complicated subject there. In the writing process, why do you want to go down that route? Or is it the right time to sort of start, not making just... Not that you ever did, but, nice, fluffy pop songs. I mean, that's a song with a story in there.
I suppose I'm one of those ones that kind of uses it like a diary. And I think there's something wrong with the way capitalism has made people think that unless music's good and unless you can make money from it, then it's not useful. And that's a real shame, because music's made to make you feel, and it's made to make you happy and sad, and it's made to get it out. And I think when I'm writing, I just want to get something out, and I'm trying not to think too much if it's poppy or if it's jazzy. I just want it to be.
But in terms of those norms and that capitalism that you talk of, though, that's kind of been circumnavigated to some extent, because your relationship now, really, for the most part, is directly with your fans.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like, it's great to get airplay.
Oh, yeah.
It's great to get on the streams and all that. But in terms of, you can reach your fan base directly yourself.
Yeah.
They can come to your concerts. So you're getting rid of the middleman, so to speak.
I will...
Or you can do. Now, the middleman's important too, don't get me wrong, but,
I suppose at the end of the day, if someone who is kind of struggling with anything, or if there's a feeling in common, then it makes it worth it, because they get a happiness out of it, or they get a sadness out of it. If someone cries to one of my songs, it's a huge compliment, because it's kind of like we have something in common, even if they're thinking of a different situation.
Well, that's it. That's what good songwriting is, I think, because I mean that song sounds like it's about a very specific situation, but it's very relatable. You change the characters, and
it doesn't even
mean
have
something. It's something to someone, and that's what you've done your job when a song.
And people put their own experiences onto songs as well, which is lovely.
All right, that's The Other Man. That's on the new album, isn't it?
That's on the original album. This is just kind of a tour of the last two albums, because I've never put on my own shows as of yet. I've just been doing festivals and supporting for people, so this is me.
So is Undesired really... You are launching an album called Undesired, right?
The album's already out.
Is it? Right.
But this is like... I suppose...
Sorry, listen, I've missed one important word in all of this. This is the tour of the album.
Yes.
The album's out.
Yeah.
Now we're launching the tour of that album.
Yes,
okay,
this is the Undesired
That's why I should
tour.
read every line, every word in the line. Yeah. All right, so George is launching his new album tour, Undesired. It's at the Regional Cultural Centre on Thursday, the 30th of March at 8 p.m. And it's You Would Be Enough, but you've got a great lineup on the night, haven't you?
Fantastic lineup. I have
Shauna, is it McDade or Gallagher? Shauna McDade. I'm pretty sure.
Shauna McDade, you are 100% right.
I'm thinking of my friend Shauna Gallagher. Shauna McDade, she's a fantastic songwriter. I heard her in the Cottage Bar, and her voice is just so deep and rich. It's unbelievable. It sounded like a studio recording. When I first heard her, I just really wanted her to join me for the night.
Brilliant.
And as well, I have Romy. It's a German duo, and their harmonies are just gorgeous. They sound like they're straight out of, like, I don't know, Appalachian folk. It's just beautiful.
All right, okay. Your band's there: Katie Houston, Rachel Craig, Steamy McKay, and of Tramp, and Malcolm Boyd.
Yeah.
Happy Out. There's something, I don't know what it is, I don't know how to describe it, but you're interested in music then. Sorry, I'm way over 11. I didn't realise it. Okay. Listen, stay where you are, right? Because I got lost in that and completely didn't realise where we were. You sit over here, please. Thank you very much. This will be our news reader for today. All right, stay where you are. Okay, haven't completely lost track of time. I can tell you it's now 3.5 minutes past 11. So we welcome onto the programme a very patient Donna Marie Doherty with the latest news headlines. Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A pedestrian was struck by a car close to the Dry Arch filling station in Letterkenny on Thursday night last around 11 o'clock. Gardaí say they spoke to all parties at the scene and the pedestrian was brought to hospital for treatment of injuries they sustained. Anyone who witnessed the incident or travelled along that route around the time and has dashcam footage is asked to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny. Meanwhile, Gardaí in Ballyshannon are investigating the theft of 1.5 tonnes of copper cable from a yard in Drumkeelan, Mount Charles, in the early hours of last Thursday morning. Gardaí believe the theft happened between midnight and 1:20. They're particularly interested in any sightings of a white van in the area around that time. They're also anxious to hear from anyone who may have been travelling in the area and may have dashcam footage. 88 eviction notices were served in Donegal from July to September last year. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin says such data released by the Residential Tenancy Board underline the government's need to reverse the end of the eviction ban. And finally, an average of 16 learner drivers a day get penalty points for not being accompanied by a qualified motorist. As well as this, an €80 fine and car seizure will be sanctioned. Speaking on this morning's 9 to noon show, Garda Grania Doherty urged learner drivers to not drive unaccompanied. She also reminded provisional licence holders that their licence is not valid in Northern Ireland, regardless if they are accompanied or not. That's all for now. We'll be back again with news headlines at 12 o'clock.
All right, Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed. Well done doing that in those circumstances. Yeah, so we're in the company here of George Houston, singer-songwriter. He's launching his album Tour Undesired at the Regional Cultural Centre on Thursday the 30th of March. So music is much more to you, George, than your songwriting, your singing then. I mean, I think you probably have views on the state or direction or perception of the music industry.
Aye.
See, I'm very intuitive.
Yeah, I think the music industry is full of businessmen, unfortunately. But, like, you just have to roll with the punches, unfortunately, and find the good ones that are in it for the love of music.
Right, boo-hoo. Talk to us about this track.
This is the first song I ever put out. And, yeah, I suppose that's it.
Does its own talking, does it?
Yeah.
All right, take it away. This is George Houston then and his track Boohoo.
I'm not leaving till I am done. This is crime, this is treason, sacred duty, it ain't fun. I'm here for the cry fest, I'm not leaving till I am done. By God, I'm open, can't be seen by anyone. So boo-hoo, Apologies for being a downer and boo. I guess I'm gonna turn my frown upside down and not for you. Do you think you are telling me not to cry as I try to get over you? 1, 2, 3, 4. Tears streaming, tears running down my cheek. Don't care what the neighbors say, I don't know what people think. And water, water everywhere, and Varga darn the sing. Water, water everywhere, but not a sup to drink. I'm here for the cry fest, I'm not leaving till I am done. By God, I'm open, can't be seen by anyone. So boo, apologies for being the downer and boo. I guess I'm gonna turn my frown upside down then, but not for you. Do you think you are telling me not to cry as I try to get over you? Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Singing boo. Apologies for being the downer and boo. I guess I'm gonna turn my frown upside down then, but not for you. Do you think you are telling me not to cry as I try to get over you?
Well done, George Houston there. That is Boo-Hoo. The album tour Undesired, the launch of it is in the Regional Cultural Centre at the end of this month, Thursday the 30th of March at 8 p.m. Are public invited? Are tickets available? How is it working?
Tickets available on RCC website. There is shows in Belfast and Dublin and Derry. And they can all the tickets can be found on my socials like Instagram. Just look up George Houston on Facebook, Instagram. Should be easy to find.
All right, okay. And on the 30th of March, great lineup too. You heard Shauna McDade there, Donegal singer-songwriter, the German duo Romy, and so many more besides. Continued success. What is success? What does success look like to you, George?
Just be able to keep doing this.
Excellent. Well, you're doing it. Houston, we don't have a problem.
Indeed.
You're doing well. All right, and keep at it. Well done, George. It's great to see you developing as you are. It's amazing. We wish you everything that you wish for and loads of success. All right, apologies for the delay in the news. That's all behind us now. But anyway, still, we'll be back with more after the break.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Bluebird Care are looking for you. Bluebird Care are currently seeking carers and nurses to join their ever-expanding team. Immediate starts for carers in all parts of the county, especially Letterkenny, Inishowen and Donegal Town. Bluebird Care are also looking for registered general nurses for day and nighttime 12-hour shifts. Contact Bluebird Care on 07491299562 or bluebirdcare.ie and bring care home.
At Screwfix, we've got great deals for St. Patrick's Day, like a €25 saving on the DeWalt T-Stack 2.0 storage tower, now just €144.95, and save €20 on the Titan 20-litre wet and dry vacuum, only €54.95. So you don't want to miss out. Hurry, deals end Friday. Shop online at screwfix.ie or in over 30 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions. While stocks last, visit screwfix.ie for T's and C's, delivery charges and restrictions.
Plug in to the all-electric Volkswagen e-Up City Car with a range of up to 253 kilometres. Power up with seamless smartphone integration and exhilarating all-electric acceleration from the moment you press go. Plug in and power up with the all-electric Volkswagen e-Up from just €27,850. Search Volkswagen e-Up for more. Volkswagen.
Get ready for the all-new Pulse venue with state-of-the-art sound and light and all-new decor. Reopening Saturday 18th of March with the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on sale now. See Pulse Letterkenny on Facebook for updates.
Guess where we're going on holidays?
Could be. Get your tickets from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday 24th of March and you will also be in with a chance of winning a €1,000 voucher to use on any celebrity cruise booking with Atlantic Travel, plus €1,000 cash. Draw will take place on the 9 till noon show, Friday 24th of March.
There you are at your local shop. Mother's Day card in one hand and a fancy schmancy scented candle in the other. Only to look up and see the display of scratch cards. And you think, why not pop an all cash in the envelope? The smile on Mum's face will really light up the room if she wins big. With millions in cash prizes to be won instantly, when you're in store for Mother's Day, ask for any all cash scratch card. The National Lottery. It could be your mum. Gift responsibly.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And it's good to have you back on the programme. On to it, we welcome Mary T. McBride. Good morning to you and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
No, it's good to have you with us. Now, there's an article in the papers today where I suppose former Minister Deputy Joe McHugh is drawing the line in the sand, which he will not cross over to rejoin the Fine Gael party to take up the party whip. And I think one of the key demands he's seeking is penalty-free downsizing for defective concrete home owners. I mean, that would be a significant step in the right direction, Mary T, in fairness.
Absolutely, Greg. I think it's really positive to see Deputy McHugh call out the need for penalty-free downsizing because, as we know, vulnerable homeowners like pensioners, they'll not be able to raise any additional financing to cover any shortfall in fixing their homes. So I think, penalty-free downsizing is definitely needed for those wishing to do that. But, I mean, it's a bit of a low-hanging fruit, and it's also only one of 80 amendments that were put forward by homeowners to try and make this scheme fixable. And I suppose my comment on be wary of false friends is, what has Joe to say about the unjust square foot caps facing victims in Donegal, which defective apartment owners, including his own party leader, don't appear to have? What about the exclusion of businesses, farm buildings and others? What about the impact of the visual damage threshold on homeowners that were forced to plaster over cracks to try keep some heat in their homes? And then, crucially, what is he to say about the lack of information regarding progress in the review of IS 465 and the fact that we've learned that Engineers Ireland have advertised a training for March 30th on the existing standard, which we know is fatally flawed? I think it's very positive to see Joe McHugh come out about. I wonder whether this stance is more to do with Joe's desire to get back into the Fine Gael party fold, rather than seeking a just and fair solution for families in crisis. I just can't understand his silence on so many other crucial issues.
That being said, I think we invited Deputy McHugh on, did we? Yeah. Did we invite him? No, we didn't. Okay, well, we'll extend that invite to him to tease this out a little bit more with him. That being said, I suppose if every politician sort of set out red lines before they would be in government or be in a ruling party, let's put it like that there'd be very few politicians about. He, at least some might say, he stood with homeowners in terms of giving up the party whip, and he has picked quite an important change as maybe his pathway back into the party. He's not, you wouldn't expect him, let me put it to you like this, you wouldn't expect him really to set out 80 demands before he rejoined Fine Gael, would you?
No, I don't, but I do expect him to be a bit more transparent about, what those red line issues are, because in his media statements, he has only been quite clear about the penalty-free downsizing, but he's, dangling a sort of invisible carrot, if you would, in front of homeowners by saying there are other issues that he's also seeking to have addressed in amendments to, the regulations or to the redress scheme. And what are those? I mean, I really think, homeowners are in an absolute crisis, an unfolding humanitarian disaster here in Donegal, as we all know, and as you've widely covered, Greg. I think it's just the basic, respect for the situation that they're in, that Deputy McHugh would say what those are,
It's kind of interesting too today. I note that the EU's looking to introduce zero-emission new build houses by 2028, okay? And it's almost like sometimes you feel like you're living in an alternative reality. To what building standards do houses currently replacing defective concrete houses, to what standard do they have to be built? It's 2208, is it? 2008?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, so we have a multi-billion euro scheme, right, that the government is backing that is at least going to be, if not already, at odds with EU law. And that's what's acceptable to the people of Donegal and the other counties, that we are talking, and the media is talking about, these new regulations, zero-emission houses by 2028, 5 years away, and we've barely scratched the surface of rebuilding these homes, and they're going to be built to outdated standards. It kind of, I find it hard even to read or listen to the news because it's so bloody ridiculous, and a lot of these contradictions and exclusions and mistreatment of Donegal people and those in other counties are just routinely ignored. It's as if it doesn't matter. It's crazy, it's unreal. If you explain this to aliens, they'd get back in their mothership and sod off back to wherever they came from.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's another one of the issues that I would have thought, would have been an easy one for Deputy McHugh to come out publicly and say that he would be pushing for also. But he hasn't, and I really would urge him to maybe rethink, when he's next on your show or in other media statements, to kind of be a bit clearer with homeowners about what his red line issues are beyond penalty-free downsizing. And I presume as well that he, was in support, as all of us were, with the €2.5 billion 100% redress for defective apartment owners, which seemingly has no caps involved in that. Again, the point that you just made, they're not restricted to, pre-2008 building standards. Just the inequity is just astounding. You know?
And unfortunately, the way news cycles works, it was a big deal for a little while and it's on to the next thing. Yet there are people that are not sleeping at night or have to live the rest of their lives with this dark cloud, this inequality hanging over them. And yet it was 3 or 4 days in the newspapers, which is actually not bad for an issue, and then it's gone. But the reality is left. We are left with the reality. Thousands of people, and I'll tell you, when it becomes cheaper to access this scheme, if that ever happens, I think we're going to see a tsunami of houses, additional houses in Donegal and elsewhere that are going to be found to have defective concrete.
Absolutely, yeah. And I just think that, like Joe McHugh, as a government party TD, his voice does have more weight, particularly with national media, when he speaks out, maybe, more so than our opposition TDs who have been tirelessly, campaigning and trying to raise all these issues. So I
those
really
chickens,
think,
in fairness to the opposition, and I can't wait, those chickens are going to come home to roost soon, and words are going to have to be backed up soon.
Absolutely, we'll have to see the colour of their money,
exactly.
if indeed they do lead, the next government. But I mean, I'm just dealing with the reality of where we are today.
I get you. I'm not pulling you up on it, Mary T. I'm not. I'm just saying. I've logged so much on this. I've logged so many commitments to so many different things, big item things. This defective box scandal, the state of the hospital, stuff that's. I've asked questions directly as, will this be resolved? The answer being in the affirmative, and I just. I await to ask those questions in a different political environment with the hope that obviously for people things improve. That's what we want. I'm not looking for any gotchas or anything to try and catch people out. Sure. And Mary T, we were former minister, I keep going to call him minister, Joe McHugh said at an event today, we didn't invite him before this call, right, in fairness to him, and he said he'll come on with us. And I'll tease out some of the stuff that you've been talking about, Mary T, and see what other... Because he does say the wording's quite... he says he would consider rejoining the party on that particular issue, the low-hanging fruit, as you described it. We'll see what else it would be required for him to re-enter. Okay, is that all right, Mary T? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Listen, stay strong. Thanks, Mary T, for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. And it's been a really busy week on the phone lines. I can't overemphasize how important that is to us. Now, just a statement here from Letterkenny University Hospital, by the way. They are extremely busy today with long wait times at the ED. The emergency department at the hospital is under significant pressure with high attendance and long waiting times. A record number of 194 patients attended the emergency department in the last 24 hours. That's huge. 194 people. The high number of people attending who need to be admitted for ongoing treatment means that there is pressure on beds availability. This is resulting in significant delays being experienced by patients in the ED who are waiting for a bed to become available on the ward. So that means we're going to see very high trolley watch figures tomorrow, okay? The hospital is also treating 10 patients with COVID-19, 4 patients with influenza A. They say that all beds available in the hospital at the moment are in use. Every effort, they say, is being made to discharge patients who are ready to go home, so the beds will become available for patients who need to be admitted at the earliest opportunity. The hospital says it acknowledges that these delays are very difficult for patients and their families and apologise for the inconvenience and distress these delays cause. It says the hospital is committed to treating everyone who presents at the ED. People who are seriously injured or ill are assessed and treated as a priority, and those who do not require urgent care may be waiting longer. And they re-emphasise that people should only attend the emergency department at the hospital if it is an emergency situation. They ask people to attend their GP or an out-of-hours service in the first instance, if at all possible is the phraseology they use. The hospital very busy, all beds currently occupied. They're trying to discharge those who can be discharged. That in and of itself, and we covered it extensively on this show, is a challenge. Getting home care packages, beds in the community, family who are able to look after someone who doesn't require acute care any longer but requires ongoing care. And the delays and the problems and the shortage there then has a knock-on effect, and people can't get into the hospital because sometimes there's a struggle to get people out.
Stop Highland Radio are going to Scotland from Monday the 1st of May to Thursday the 4th of May with the very best of music, and we would love for you to join us. Staying at the 4-star Crown Plaza Hotel in Glasgow, we are bringing with us some of the biggest country stars, including myself, David James, Declan Ernie and Robert Mazzell, to name a few. You will enjoy luxury travel to Glasgow, 3 nights dinner, bed and breakfast with music and entertainment each evening. Join us on the Highland Fling to Glasgow this May for only €575 per person. To book, call Highland Radio today on 074 91 25000. Early booking is advisable. Single supplement applies.
Some sports demand resilience, grit, power. Cheltenham demands it all. And this is William Hill Racing at Cheltenham. Get our top price guarantee against selected bookmakers on all championship races. It's who you play with. William Hill.
Top prices from 9am 27th of February 23 until the start of each of the 4 championship races compared to selected competitors. Standard win market odds only. Excludes competitor offers. Further terms apply. 18 plus for advice and information. Visit gamblingcare.ie.
Callaghan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. Drive in to our newly renovated spacious forecourt. Fill up with our upgraded modern fuel pumps and save with our keen Go Fuel prices. Located on the main Letterkenny to Derry Road, we're the ideal pit stop on your Donegal journey. Fast flow fuel, self-service or attended with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callaghan's.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny, the best family entertainment complex around with bowling, laser quest, soft play centre and more. Visit arena7.ie.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Okay, now, it just so happens there are these types of stories going around at the moment, let me put it like that. But we read that the head of a childcare representative group has said one of the world's largest nursery school groups, which instructed parents to stop telling their daughters they look pretty or calling them princess or a tomboy, was overstepping a boundary. The Woke Handbook, sent to parents whose children attend Bright Horizons nurseries in the US and the UK, also cautions mums and dads against praising good behaviour and takes pains to define girls as children who identify as female. Elaine Dunn is chair of Ireland's Federation of Early Childhood Providers and joins us now. Good morning, Elaine. Can you hear me, Elaine, I wonder? Okay, we are struggling to pick up Elaine there. We'll come back to her in a moment. Stay right where you are. Don't know what went on there. Caroline, you might have an investigation for us. A caller says it is really time to get a pedestrian bridge near the Dry Arch if people are getting injured. There should be no people crossing a dual carriageway. It's unsafe for pedestrians and motorists, says a caller. My children go to secondary school and every day they have at least 3 free classes with teachers away training. Should teachers not be qualified enough going into a job to prevent this from happening, as it's the children that are suffering? Another caller says, why do you have to travel to Letterkenny NCT Centre to get an NCT on your van? It can't be done in other centres around Donegal. I'm not really quite sure about the reason for that. Anyone with any insights, please let us know. Right, I have a quick break to catch up on, and that will give us an opportunity to reconnect with our last guest. Stay right where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 16-page Cheltenham pullout. Our man Brian Flanagan gives you the inside scoop from the track. We have Davy Russell and Andy Mack's exclusive views, plus all the top tipsters ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Callaghan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. Drive in to our newly renovated spacious forecourt. Fill up with our upgraded modern fuel pumps and save with our keen Go Fuel prices. Located on the main Letterkenny to Derry Road, we're the ideal pit stop on your Donegal journey. Fast flow fuel, self-service or attended with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callaghan's.
Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny, is the perfect place to celebrate special occasions. Dillon's exclusive function rooms cater for up to 120 guests for any occasion, from corporate celebrations, presentations and networking events, to milestone birthdays, anniversaries and retirement parties. There's audio-visual equipment, integrated PA systems and even a private bar. Dillon's Hotel, perfectly located in Letterkenny Town Centre with award-winning food and 5-star service. Call 91-22977.
Toyota Relax, our new service-activated warranty, is now available at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Whether you bought your Toyota from us, a classified ad, or your auntie, once it's less than 10 years old with under 185,000 kilometres, you will get a 12-month warranty when you get your service at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. For more, search Toyota Relax. Toyota, built for a better world.
Okay.
Terms and conditions apply.
Hopefully Elaine Dunn, Chair of Ireland's Federation of Early Childhood Providers, can hear us now. Can you hear me okay, Elaine?
Can, yeah.
Okay.
Can you
good.
hear me?
I can. Just the signal's not fantastic, but we can work with it. Right. Don't discuss a girl's looks. That's the advice of one of the world's biggest childcare businesses. Parents whose children attend a Bright Horizon nursery in the UK and US have been given handbooks which include how to speak to young girls. It advises people not to use gender-based words like princess or words like bossy, as it reinforces gender stereotype. I don't know. I'm finding it hard to get my head around some of this stuff. As a Chair of Ireland's Federation of Early Childhood Providers, what say you? What's your feelings on where we're going, the direction here?
Well, I suppose for me in my service, everything is parental driven. And if we were to start having parents coming to us asking us not to use the term princess or superhero or whatever, then what we would do is we would survey all of the parents and we would take guidance from them. So I was quite shocked when I heard what was in the handbook. It certainly wouldn't be in my handbook, in my service in any way. Terms of endearment are always used to empower the children, and it's all the children within your service. It's not just the girls. We would empower all children in the same light.
It seems to be, though, what they're against is affirming gender stereotypes, you know, that maybe girls play with these toys, boy plays with them, girls wear skirts, boys wear trousers, you know. But I mean, where's the evidence for this? Just you work with children. Does that cause harm if you speak and treat children like that?
Can I come in? Yeah, look, one thing I will say to you here, when children come into a service, the girls play with the cars, the boys play with the dolls, they watch the dolls. No, everybody does the same thing. It's totally child-led. So if a child wants to go and take a doll in the buggy and push it around the room or wash the doll down or whatever, that's up to each individual child. They're not treated any differently because of their gender. They're all treated exactly equally. Do you know what I mean? So that's empowering a child.
Yeah. So, but would you avoid using words like princess or gender-specific words like girls or boys?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. That being said, we can't ignore this either, because this isn't necessarily.
Like in the morning time when we open the door, that's, oh, come on in, princess, and
yeah, my apologies, Elaine. We won't keep you very much longer. The line is just very is very up and down. But the point I was trying to make here, this isn't just some person, one individual that's tweeted something that's open for discussion. This is quite a significant organisation that's distributing this handbook. Do you think there'll be a pushback from parents? Do you talk to parents much about these types of issues, and what do you think they might say?
I actually did speak to 25 of my parents who were absolutely shocked. A child needs to be a child, and if a parent wants to make a decision to change how we address their child, well, then they will come to us individually, and then we will do them case by case. You know, you look into the future, who knows what the future is going to hold here, you know, what is going to go on in the next couple of years, because you see a lot of changes, as you said, about gender. So we don't know what's going to happen in the near future.
All right, listen, thanks for working through that with us on that poor connection.
Sorry.
We appreciate your time. No, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Elaine Dunn there, Chair of Ireland's Federation of Early Childhood Providers. Now, as I say, this is these issues on a hobby horse for us here, by the way. I just want to make that clear. It just so happens that there are two quite high-profile stories going around at the moment, both which deal with children and conversations around gender. So just to give you a recap there, the head of a childcare representative group has said one of the world's largest nursery school groups, which instructed parents to stop telling their daughters they look pretty or calling them princesses or a tomboy, was overstepping boundary. The Woke Handbook, sent to parents whose children attend Bright Horizons nurseries in the US and the UK, also cautions mums and dads against praising good behaviour and takes plans to define girls as children who identify as female. You just heard from Elaine Dunn there. She has her concerns. But what say you? 08660 25,000. And also, I do want to hear from people who might believe that this is the right way to go. I just think there's more and more that sort of It's notional amongst adults, and it's being imposed on children. It's just, I don't know, it feels a bit worrying. Good morning, Greg. So the guards have no problem seizing learner driver cars from Donegal, yet Ukrainians can go where they want. As she said, if they find out they are a permanent resident, the next time they're caught, they'll be dealt with. If you know they're a resident, then they know the address. It's how long they intend to stay here. The situation is somewhat complicated. The majority will go home when it's safe for them to do so. I don't know what the definition of a permanent resident is, but I am a permanent resident. A Ukrainian staying in a hotel in one of our towns and villages, I don't think they'd be classed as permanent. They don't have a permanent address and what have you. Just listening there, all about the money, Greg. Get money in, not learner drivers or anything else, believes that caller. Let me see, keep going here. Congratulations to George and his album tour from his old piano teacher. Yes, impressive, George. He really is. I just want to mention one other thing as well. Stromore National School. Do you remember we had the students in with their robot that fired little discs out? They had won the national competition. They're doing a fundraising to go over and compete at the World Vex Robotics Championship in Dallas. It's the biggest robotics event in the world. And why shouldn't we have a group from Stromore National School over at it? Well, there's a big breakfast for Stromore National School. It's on Sunday, March 26th. So that's a week Sunday. It runs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's in Wilkins Bar in Churchill. All donations greatly appreciated. So if you want to back them, you can do that. Right, we were talking yesterday on the show about littering. How in God's name are we going to stop it? Maybe Joe can help us. Joe, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you.
Right, okay. You were talking to us about people throwing rubbish out the windows. What particularly do you want to talk about?
Right, well, I just heard the lady talking about it yesterday and just want to make a comment on it. Now, I'll give you an example. Anybody throws a bottle over a hedge, if I'm going down with a mower, I know the bottle breaking is kind of a thud noise. The flames pick it up from the silage, and then the harvester lifts it and goes onto the silage pot. Now, if you have a cow with a perforated stomach or not doing well, you realise that the cows are eating these bits of grass. And people are saying, but they don't realise the pain and the suffering the animals have, both sheep and cows both.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, because we often view this as environmental, or how pretty the countryside might look, or our towns and villages might look. But this is a problem for farmers as well, because as you say, you bring the mower over it, you hear that crack, it's in bits, and it could end up... do we know... Does it happen? I'm sure it does, though. But does it happen where animals that are fed this product end up getting injured because of the plastic contained within?
Well, you know, I kind of phrase it, it's sort of a silent killer. So if you don't really know what's it's doing to it inside, but I had a cow years ago with a perforated stomach. And actually, what done that? Another example of it, a tin can. Now, if you look at the trough or the feeding passage where the silage is, and they have it cleaned up, you'll get bits of can bigger than a cow would eat, but it's a part of the can. So that's a big bit. Where did the wee bits go? It had to go into them and through them. You know, they don't realise the damage it's doing to the environment and the animals especially.
It's really quite an interesting point that I hadn't really thought of or heard before, Joe. And it makes perfect sense, because this stuff has to end up somewhere. There's no way to filter these shards of plastic or metal. And the idea then that a cow or a sheep could be eating them and digest them. And any grazing animal, presumably a horse or whatever it might be, the same could apply, Joe.
The same does apply, especially when they're grazing plastic. Now, a wee plastic bag or whatever for the cow and sheep's nosy, and they'll pick that up and start to chew it. And a few times I've pulled plastic out of the cow's mouth. You know, it's a job of catching them. I'm not afraid to do that.
I would imagine so. You running around looking to try and give an oral examination to a cow that's not interested in having a look at you, Joe. But listen, yeah, okay, I see exactly where you're coming from. Never crossed my mind before, but I will remember this conversation, Joe. Another good reason as to why we don't or shouldn't be chucking our rubbish away illegally.
You're quite correct.
All right, Joe. Good man. How is it farming at the moment? Is it tough?
It's not so bad. It's not a great day to be out, but yeah, good to be out.
Good, exactly. And good to have the health to do it, Joe. Come here, keep at it. Take care of yourself, Joe. Lovely to chat to you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's Joe there. He's out and about. And now, looking out the window here at the mountaintop in Letterkenny, the weather's beautiful. I would say it's chilly, but it's beautiful. Okay, morning. This is the second year I've contacted the Chamber, the Letterkenny Chamber, I presume this is, about having a quiet part of the parade for children with autism and other issues. Last year, they told me it was too late to organise, but thought it was a good idea. I contacted them in January and they assured me they would discuss it. Disappointed to hear the ads for the parade and no mention of it. It doesn't affect me or my family, thankfully, but I'm sure plenty of families don't go to the parade for this reason. It works in other towns. Sligo has been doing it for a few years now, so presumably, in pardon my ignorance, is this a case whereby there's a section of the street, maybe the lower main street or wherever it might be in a town, and everything goes silent, the music goes silent, the bands go silent? Is this the norm elsewhere, as this listener rightly says? They say it is, so I've no reason to doubt that. And is there a big appetite for it in our towns around this region? Let me know. 08660 25,000. So it would be a section of the parade where things fall silent. I presume that's the suggestion they're making, so that parents and guardians of children with autism and other issues can attend. Would there be, is there a huge appetite for that out there? Let me know. 08660 24,000. 24,000? We've lost 1,000. 08660 25,000. The last few weeks, there have been a lot of long wheelbase vans parked along Letterkenny Main Street and at the bottom of Church Lane on double yellows, making it impossible for a fire brigade or ambulance to get past on the road down the side of some businesses there, blocking emergency vehicles too. There's no problem until something needing an emergency response happens. That's a concerned listener there. Hi, Greg. Being as our sister Kathleen's a dedicated listener of your programme, please wish her a very happy birthday from her fanad brother and sisters, her fanad brothers and sisters, Gormiha Mahagut. Kathleen, a dedicated listener, thank you very much indeed. A very happy birthday to you from your brothers and sisters, but also from us all here at Highland Radio. We hope you have a lovely day and you're very well treated.
What does Ireland's future look like? At ESB, we invest over €1 billion every year to ensure it's a future powered by clean, affordable energy. That's €1 billion to fund projects that will move Ireland towards energy independence, harnessing our natural resources to bring clean, renewable electricity into more areas of our lives so that we can enjoy a reliable supply of homegrown energy long into the future. ESB, invested in Ireland. Find out more at esb.ie.
House to Home Bridgend, Donegal. Our modest front door opens onto 2 floors of Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining and occasional furniture. Step into our showroom and see how we can transform your house into a home. House to Home furniture, flooring, slide robes and interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Get ready for the all-new Pulse venue with state-of-the-art sound and light and all-new decor. Reopening Saturday 18th of March with the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on sale now. See Pulse Letterkenny on Facebook for updates.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect to 80 plus destinations worldwide, including Boston and New York. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
OK, let's have a look at that weather then. Further showers of rain, hail and snow through the morning and the afternoon. Highs of just 4 to 7 degrees with an added wind chill. Moderate to fresh and gusty northwesterly winds. Frost and ice will set in quickly after dark under clear skies and easing winds. Cold, temperatures -3 to +0 degrees, but temperatures begin, I believe, to pick up later on tomorrow. Now, I read the article on the front of the Irish Daily Mail this morning. More than 1,200 people under the age of 65 are living in nursing homes and can't leave, with advocacy groups saying they are being held in custody due to the housing crisis. Anne Griffin is regional advocate with Sage Advocacy for the North West. And it's shocking language, it's emotive language, and I would imagine that's by accident rather than design, so people sit up and take note of what's being said, Anne.
Yes, I suppose 1,200 people nationally living in nursing home care, and nursing homes really should be the last resort. But sometimes it's the only option for a person, and then they have no choice as to where they live. They lose all access to family life. They're living with older people, not in a suitable environment in terms of activities and engagements. And the diseases like motor neuron Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, these are lifelong illnesses, and the planning should take place much earlier in terms of accommodation and facilities to support those individuals in a community setting in an ordinary neighbourhood. Nursing home care is excellent in terms of the physical well-being, but for a younger person under the age of 65, they need more interventions. They need physio, they need engagements to stimulate, they need access to family. And this is denied in terms of the nursing home care, because the nursing home environment is set up to support an older person.
Yeah.
A younger person requires ongoing assessment in terms of what they require to be supported to live an independent life. And we need funding to match the care needs of the individual. But I suppose the requirement comes in terms of suitable access to suitable accommodation in community settings. And then we only have the National Rehab Unit in Dunleary. So if a person under the age of 65 it may be following a farm accident or a road traffic accident or acquired brain injury, of course we also have the early onset dementia from the Korsakoff syndrome. And that individual, if they require support from the National Rehab, they then they're invariably discharged back into nursing home care. And carers in nursing homes are trained to care for older people, but the care needs of a younger person are quite different. And they need to be stimulated.
For sure. And this is about their personal development as well, and what is lost in that. And this is, and you quite rightly point out, this is not a criticism of nursing homes. They provide a wonderful service for a certain group of people, but that service is not tailored for this other group of people, groups of people that we're talking of. And this is not a 2023 problem or a 2022 problem. I've been speaking to, and particularly when you mentioned people who have suffered a brain injury, I've been speaking to advocates on this issue and this problem for years and years and years. So there are people that are living and have been living very long term in a nursing home when they'd be far better off in the types of environments you've described.
Absolutely. And it really is about forward thinking and planning. And planning should be in place at a much earlier stage where you have the ongoing life illnesses. But then once you have an acquired injury, that then can prevent an individual returning home to their own area, neighbourhood. It can prevent a person moving back to their own home. That then has an impact on family life and particularly on children, and where that parent is missing out on parenting their child. So the planning needs to come in at a much earlier stage, and we need to consider more than the physical well-being of the individual.
And what we are doing here is we're choosing the path of least resistance here. It's handy. You know what I mean? It is a space for someone but it's not the right thing to do. This is not focused on the person. It's not person focused. It's not what can we do for Greg in his situation. It's what we'll do rightly for Greg. You know what I mean? Without consideration for, my development, my life, my rehabilitation as well, because some of what we're talking about, there are, rehabilitation options, and what have you, to give people the best level of independence or whatever it might be. That's obviously not happening how it should in a nursing home environment, I presume.
Absolutely. And there will be people listening to us this morning, Greg, who may be in those circumstances. But the ability to self-determine and the fact that your independence is taken away because you technically have to accept what is on offer. And that then impacts on your social inclusion, it impacts on the family life, it impacts on relationships, and everything is, I suppose, in terms of support, we need to consider what happens if you leave the rehab unit. Where do you go next? What are the supports in the community, like physio and ongoing therapies that are required to support those individuals? And then we want to talk about quality of life, talk about engagement with their peers, relationships, social inclusion. All of that is lost in many ways because of the lack of choice.
Yeah, and it puts me in mind of a case we covered on this programme some time ago of a person who effectively ended up being a long-term resident of the acute hospital because there was nowhere for them to go. And I believe they were moved then out of the hospital to a nursing home. And it would make you wonder, is that person still there? Is that the right thing for them? I'm not talking about any individual cases, but this is probably happening really quite regularly. And we know the number at the moment is 1,200, which is not a mountain we shouldn't be able to climb in providing proper services for these people in the right places. If there is a will, Anne, it shouldn't be beyond us.
No, it should not be beyond us. And, you can see where in care settings where they have recently decongregated, and some of those residents are now living independently in communities for the first time. So it can be done, but there is a requirement for funding to support the care needs and the ongoing assessment of these individuals, because they're missing out in terms of where they're at in terms of their own development. They're missing out on education. They're missing out on an opportunity to live a normal life. They're missing out on an opportunity to have a job, to be independent. And you can talk about independence in terms of support for their disability, but you're also talking about travel, how they get from A to B. And then you're talking about access to accommodation in the community, what type of accommodation is built to support the individual's care needs. And you cannot say that any one service fits the bill for everybody. Every person should have the right to be assessed in relation to their care needs and to be supported to live as an individual and an independent life as much as you can possibly be.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anyone listening to this program that would like to think their fellow people, or some of them, feel like they're being held in custody because the proper facilities aren't available for them. So we just need, really, I suppose, the powers that be to exercise the will of the people. That would be the right thing to do.
Well, we certainly need more support for those individuals who find themselves in those circumstances, because we find that for the older people in nursing home care, we have the manager for the services for older people in the various CHO areas. And then you have, I suppose, if you look at the national picture, the funding is not matched county to county, but we are saying that the funding needs to match the individual's care needs. Accommodation needs to match their care needs.
Yes, of course.
And whilst nursing homes provide excellent services for older people, the staff there are not trained to provide a service to a person with an acquired brain injury, say, for example.
Okay, yeah.
And then you find that there is a lot of frustration. And, of course, the other side is that it may not be fair on the older person to have individuals under the age of 65 living in their nursing home because of their care needs do not match the care needs of the older person.
Yeah.
And you could be talking about, music or noise or activities, all of those things that are set up for the older person. They technically don't meet the needs of a younger person.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, thank you so much for explaining that so clearly to us. We really do appreciate your time this morning. Anne Griffin, Regional Advocate with Sage Advocacy for the Northwest. Okay, we're heading towards the end of the programme. Let me tell you that our show sponsors, of course, are St Mary's GEA Convoy and their development draw. They are raising funds for the ongoing development of their facilities. There's 50k to win on St Patrick's Day, 50k for St Patrick's Day. It's their draw, and you can get tickets by going to St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, their social media website, etc. We asked you today to be in with a chance of winning 2 tickets into that draw. The question was, in the famous All-Ireland song in 2012, Jimmy's winning what? Is it Jimmy's winning matches or is it Jimmy's winning footballs? We insulted you with that in question. But the answer was, of course, matches. And the winner of 2 tickets into that draw, and fingers crossed you are successful. I had the winner, and now I've lost the winner. I have it again. Quite correctly, Kathleen Gallagher from Letterkenny correctly answered matches and wins 2 tickets. I hope you win the 50k for St Patrick's Day, and we'll have another 2 tickets to give away tomorrow. And in the meantime, if you want to support that club and be in with a chance of winning, as I say, search out their social media and elsewhere for your chance to buy those tickets. All right, that is where we have to leave it on the show today. Thank you to all of you who listened to the programme, took part in the programme, watched it, however you engaged with us. It's really appreciated. We're back with you tomorrow morning, Wednesday. We'll announce the winner of our Irish Music Month Search for a Local Musical Talent Hero competition. We've got business news with Kieran and so much more besides. So rejoin us at 9, but don't go anywhere today because John Breslin's coming up after the news around the Northwest.
This week's 9 till